Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is. Happy Monday. It's good to see you guys again. It's been a great weekend. Man, how about that show on Saturday? How about that? That's one of many installments. We got another one happening this week, and we'll put together one after the other. We're going to get all the way down to the genesis of Smartmatic, Dominion, Sequoia, ES&S. We're going to dissect all of it. We're even going to bring you into the Scott Linebecker. What did he do when he was overseas in Kosovo? And why is Serbia such a hotspot? Why was there ever a conflict in Kosovo? And how do you tie back the organized crime that happens not just in Serbia, but in Ukraine and other areas to the players that run Dominion, that run now Liberty Vote? And we're going to be able to go through a bunch of things, but what I just want to say thank you to B. Somebody asked why it was hidden. Why do we hide his identity? Because everyone that has gotten involved in this, and I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to prove it to you. Every single person that has gotten involved in anything related to helping the people, the same playbook has been used, and they have literally, without exception, gone after them full bore. And now we're going to be able to talk about. We're going to be able to talk about all of it. I'm going to draw a line to the people that came forward, like Dr. Corey and Dr. McCullough, people that came forward and talked about the elections, or excuse me, the vaccines, and they became kooks. These are people that were highly respected in their field, that were very academic about the information they put out there. We can talk about the elections and going all the way back to Clint Curtis, who they said, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. That's the new thing, is that the experts are no longer experts, and the people that are experts are partisan hacks. And we can talk about the effectiveness of ivermectin, and you could go to Grok, and you could run in there ivermectin. I want to take ivermectin because and Grok will tell you that it's all an urban myth. We could talk about the J6 pipe bomber. I was so angry. You have people on both sides of the aisle that unequivocally are saying the same thing. They're saying nothing to see here. Oh, we feel bad for the J6 bomber. It reminds me of the election fraud tied to Eric Coomer. It's identical. Like, how in the world do you take someone that you've proven and then say that that's not science? That you pull the information related to the elections and you go, yeah, that's not proof. Now you got to have a smoking gun. They've moved all the goalposts. All the goalposts and said, you know what? Even if you have the proof, we're going to basically say that unintended victim. This isn't the right person. Oh, they had to turn off their social media. Oh, but they do it for these demons. And I was having a conversation with my friend, and I go, Kyle, bro, you were a storied FBI agent. And now you're right in the middle of all this stuff having to do with Steve Baker and the J6 bomber. And the expert reports and all the information at the FBI that will prove 1,000% the J6 bomber is in fact, 1,000% is in fact Kirchhoff. But they don't want you to see that. They don't want you to see that at all. But in fact, they're going to do everything they can to keep you away from that. They're going to do everything they can to keep you away from the truth. They're going to do everything they can to stop you from actually seeing all the data. And so when we sat down on Saturday with B, And you walk through the different ways that they're all interconnected. And they're like, yeah, but that's not proof. You know, having a connection to organized crime, yes, it is proof. It 1,000% is proof. And the fact that we have to sit here and have this conversation is disingenuous to what the American people deserve. So let me tell you about what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk to Dr. William Federer. Do we have Tommy with us as well? Can we bring Tommy in? Tommy, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Did you get a chance to see the report that came out? I'm sorry, not the report.
About the bomber?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it kind of tangentially around how isn't a U.S. Capitol police officer?
No, it's a CIA employee.
Better.
It was a Capitol police officer.
There you go.
And they did this thing called a gait analysis. A gait analysis is basically the way you walk. It's like a finger.
Yeah, they've been using that in China for a while. So people with use face masks, the only way to around it is really to use, I think, either uneven shoes or to put gravel in your shoes. But gait analysis is pretty much up there with like a fingerprint. It's
actually more conclusive than a fingerprint because a fingerprint, there is the possibility you could have a secondary person. It's 95%, 90% conclusive, right? But that's not the case with gating. I mean, you can get almost to 99%, 99.5%.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But we have a guest with us today. And Dr. Federer, he's going to talk to us about socialist ideologies and how they've infiltrated institutions over the past century, from universities to media to government. And I use the concept of institutional rot. So if you want to rot something, if you're a bad person, you sit, you lie and wait until you get promoted to a place where you can bring other people in that are bad. So it's why, by the way, no society has lasted as long as the United States. The United States, they try to figure out a way to crack the code in the United States. Like, how do you crack something that is smaller parts of a bigger part, and each one of those parts has its own autonomy for how it operates in those particular environments? That's community-based government, state-based government, national government. So they figured that they've been able to do it, but they had to be able to do it through the institutions, through the media, and then put those people in positions of trust and authority. So we're going to, and that leads to a consolidation of power. So he's going to connect our shift from religious tolerance to hostility against foundational Christian values, which is typically what you do if you're a demon, and the rise of state-controlled narratives. We're also going to examine societal decay in real time, from the Olympics banning transgender athletes from female events to liberal policies enabling crime and fraud, which is running rampant across our country. And nobody wants to do anything about it. Now, before I get into that, I want to say this. President Trump has officially pardoned Republican operatives from the 2020 presidential election, including Rudy Giuliani. So this includes people such as Tyler Boyer, Harrison Floyd. I'm going to call Harrison right after the show to congratulate him. John Eastman, probably one of the most amazing men you're ever going to find. Mark Meadows, I'm not sure how I feel about some of the people on this list, honestly, Tommy, knowing what I know about what they've done to my life. But and then Ed does say that the DOJ is working on freeing Tina Peters. That appears to be imminent. And before I bring our guest on, I'm just going to talk about a couple of tweets, so to speak. I put this up there. This is a question that I have, Tommy. Maybe you can answer it. Why can't we just do the right thing? Why is it so hard for these people to honor the American people? Real question. Instead, they lie, cheat, cover up the crimes while persecuting the American people with impunity. Thank God we broke up the betting on professional basketball players. Yeah, got to hold them accountable while covering up the pipe bomber. These unsanctioned gamblers are a threat for sure. Nothing to see here for sure. Today, I really wanted to believe good would prevail. I'm yet again disappointed FBI and the DOJ are irrevocably broken. The judiciary is filled with irrevocably broken, corrupt people. And Congress is filled with selected cowards who betray the people and stuff their faces. When will it end? When will we have enough? And in true form, Kyle Seraphin put this out. We haven't found a way, the FBI commented at 6:43 p.m. on Sunday night, we haven't found a way to spin Steve Baker's story. And so they said, so please call 1-800-FBI-TIPS if you have any ideas to help Bongo and Cash. I'm dead. And it says the FBI has officially gone on the record. They claim they're still investigating who placed the pipe bomber. All right, they're not real. They're not real. And in other news, just so you know, the Senate has voted 60-40 to end the shutdown. Bill now goes down to the House to be ironed out. Shutdown has lasted about 40 days. I'm going to play this last piece, which is the Democrats' plan using the American people as leverage. This actually happened. Go ahead and play cut 5.
We need to do this while we have the leverage.
Of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer, but it is one of the few leverage times we have.
You reopen the government and we lose our leverage, there has to be an agreement right now. That's what this whole shutdown is about.
Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. Frankly, this is our only moment of leverage.
The idea that you would give up all of your leverage and then hopefully get some sort of great deal coming down the pike is just a fool's errand.
Why are working families the leverage the Democrats need to get Obamacare fixed?
It's the only lever we have.
Democrats have this one little sliver right now when we've got some leverage here.
Some Republican senators have pushed a bill that would pay government workers.
I think that just gives the president more leverage.
Catherine was basically expressing, in her own words, the notion that our leverage right now are our votes.
Them wanting to solve the problem that we want to solve, but do it in a couple of days or a couple of weeks when we've given up our negotiating leverage.
Without that leverage, the minority party, would be stuck in the mud and not basically have anything to negotiate.
I'm not going to waste a lot more time. This plays right into what the doctor is going to be talking about. So Dr. William Federer is an author, historian, and president of AmeriSearch. He was born and raised in St. Louis. He graduated from St. Louis University. He founded AmeriSearch, a publishing and research organization dedicated to documenting Judeo-Christian heritage and historical foundations. He's authored more than 20 books. And his seminal work, America's God and Country, Encyclopedia of Quotations, became a national bestseller with over 500,000 copies sold, which was widely cited by educators, politicians, and authors. So with that said, I'm going to welcome Dr. Federer to the show. Welcome.
Hey, good to be with you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's good to have you.
Sir.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you for what you're doing.
Dr. Federer wrote, I had him on several years ago, a couple times in his book, Socialism from Plato to President. I think I didn't even know what we were going to be talking about today. There it is. Otherwise, you can get it in the description. It's also on Amazon. You can grab it. I've read it, I believe, twice, and it's actually kind of ironic because I didn't know what Joe was going to be bringing up today in terms of current events, but it weaves right in there, and Dr. Federer can really, be it 200 years ago, be it 2,000 years ago, or be it in present day, you really can see the erosion of not only trust in institutions, but also, as Dr. Federer, I believe you said before, is faith in God, faith in Christ. And you can see that it all does seem to be I forget the exact wording of the quote, but lay not your treasures where dust and time doth corrupt. And I believe you turned me on to that quote, but I think that you are a pretty good fit for the show today.
Yeah. Well, one of the chapters in the book is how to brainwash a nation. And they've basically taken marketing of products into marketing of ideologies. And so Karl von Clausewitz is a 19th century military strategist, and he gave the classic purpose of war. It's to get your opponent to submit to your will. So you go through all the battle strategy and weapons, but the goal is to get your opponent to submit to your will. Well, Sun Tzu's Art of War, 5th century BC, says that supreme excellence in a commander is to get your enemy to submit without a fight. It's like you psych them out. It's just called the psychological operation, psychological warfare. I mean, if the goal is to get them to submit, if you're really good, you can make them think you're more powerful than you are and then confuse them and demoralize them. Now it's called 5th generation warfare, where you get your enemy to submit without them even being aware there is a war. Right? If the goal is to get them to submit, what if you could just get them scared, health or climate or whatever, and then they surrender their rights? Right? So the psychological warfare has quite a history. You go back to, Bible stories. The 12 spies go into the promised land, 10 come back with a negative report, and the Israelites panic and say, let's stone Moses and go back to Egypt. It's like, look, they didn't even get to the battlefield and they're giving up. And then Gideon did it in reverse. With 300, he was able to get 100,000 Midianites to attack each other in the dark and blow the trumpets and the torches. But during World War...
32,000 to 10,000 to 300, Gideon 300, I think is what you're referring to.
Yeah, Gideon was a psychological operation. That we remember that story, but it wasn't them fighting him, it was them blowing the trumpets, and then these Assyrians getting up in the dark and bumping into each other, or the Midianites. But during World War II, we dropped pamphlets on German villages saying your side has already lost, your commander just hasn't told you. And it would mess with their minds. They'd be like, why are we fighting? I read we already lost. And then the Japanese did it to us. Tokyo Rose is a woman with a seductive voice. Radio waves would go across the ocean to our ships, and she would say, you Americans are doing all this terrible stuff, and it would demoralize our guys. And so this idea...
They did it in Vietnam, too.
Right.
That was a big thing in Vietnam.
I actually, a friend of mine, John Moore, he might be a good guest for you, but he actually worked in the military during the Vietnam War writing all the psychological warfare pamphlets, and so he's got a great insight in them. But so the 5th column warfare, ancient Greeks would have 2 columns, 2 flanks. What's the 5th column? Well, that's where you would have your people inside the enemy camp sowing confusion. So Alexander the Great's dad is Philip of Macedon, and he's marching toward Athens. And Athens was a democracy. So there's citizens gathering together in the marketplace, and they're saying, we got to get our military up to speed. And Philip had paid traitors, and they would stand up and say, wait a second, let's not get carried away. I hear Philip's not such a bad guy. I hear he's not conquering cities. He's liberating them. And the people don't hate him, but they really like him. And these paid traitors would gather around themselves what Lenin later called useful idiots, like college students who would believe the traitors. And they'd be like, yeah, from the river to the sea, and they'd be so confused. And so it so divided Athens that when Philip marched up to the gates, they couldn't mount a unified defense, and they throw open the gates and he takes over. And so there's a quote from Cicero, who was a Roman orator, but he says this in 42 BC, a nation can survive its fools and even ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he's known and he carries his banners openly against the city. But the traitor moves amongst those within the gates freely, his sly whispers heard in the very halls of government. He works secretly to undermine the pillars of a city. He infects the body politic so it can no longer resist. A murderer is less to be feared. And so this idea of 5th column warfare, it's interesting. Quotes. Here's a quote from Franklin Roosevelt, 1940. We have seen the treacherous use of 5th column, by which persons supposed to be peaceful visitors were actually part of an enemy unit of occupation. FDR said, 1942, our enemies have spread falsehood, error. They've started 5th columns everywhere, duped the innocent, fomented suspicion and hate between neighbors. And then FDR said, May 26, 1940, today our threat to national security is the Trojan horse, the 5th column, but that betrays a nation unprepared for treachery, spies, saboteurs, traitors, actors in this new strategy. And then Winston Churchill, In the British Commonwealth, in the United States, communist parties or fifth columns constitute a growing challenge and peril to Christian civilization. So this idea is you sneak into the country, maybe buy up land around military bases like the Chinese. I personally am suspect that this rash of oil refineries blowing up, chemical plants blowing up, food processing plants blowing up, avian flu, got to kill off all the chickens, the mad cow, kill off all the cows, bridges being blown up, railroads. It's like, wait a second, this sounds a whole lot like maybe there's enemy units of occupation like FDR talked about that are destroying our infrastructure right before our eyes.
So you talk about the birds. What's interesting about that is strategically, these are the organizations that have rejected the idea that they would inject this stuff into their chickens. So they killed off the ones that said, hey, we're going to opt out. We want all fully organic. So they were rejecting all the things they were putting in those chickens. Now, that wasn't just one. That was 15 or 20 different companies in different environments over the last 5 years, right? And then they called it this avian flu, so we had to kill off all the birds.
Yeah, I actually talked to I talked to somebody, they had a chicken farm, and like 10 miles away, a bird supposedly landed in somebody's yard with this illness, and based on that, they wiped out the entire chicken farm. I mean, it makes no sense, but it does make sense if your goal is to weaken the infrastructure of a country. And then you have the pork processing plants and the big conglomerates buying them and consolidating and shutting them down until you only have a couple left in the whole country. Lead processing, all these different things. It's to me, it's suspect. There's Antonio Gramsci was a Italian socialist, and he got on the wrong side of the Lenin and Stalin socialists who wanted to conquer the West with tanks. And Gramsci said, you'll never conquer the West with tanks. You have to rot it from within. It's called the long march through the institutions. He says it's going to take time, but you got to infiltrate. And so you have a Congressman, Ralph Herlong, 1963, reads into the congressional record the 45 goals and tactics of the communists on how to infiltrate America and destroy it from within. It was quoting from Cleon Skousen's book, The Naked Communist, but it says, 1, infiltrate the press. 2, infiltrate churches. Replace revealed religion with social religion, right? Rainbow justice and all that. Get control of teachers' associations. Put party line in textbooks. Get control of schools. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and communist propaganda. Use student riots to want to organize the students to riot. It's interesting. I saw an article just last month. It says, why are America's teachers' unions backing the No Kings protests? So here's public schools urging the kids to get involved in protests, just like this guy had documented years ago. Another aspect of schools that they use is called deconstruction. And if you want, I can share a little bit about that.
Please do.
So it's a drive neutral reverse process where they go into the classrooms and they intentionally tell the kids negative things about the founding fathers. They took land from Indians, sold people into slavery. They were bad, bad, bad. And these kids are like, our founders were bad. Forget the fact they gave us a country where we get to be in charge of our life and all of us together are in charge of the country. Forget that. All the founders are bad. Everything they did was bad. And so now the kids are in a neutral position where they're open-minded. What are all the belief systems out there? Let's have comparative religion class. And then they give their pitch for socialism or LGBT or trans or Islamism. And so it's actually a sales technique. So if I was a toothpaste salesman, the first thing I do is tell you a bunch of negative things about the toothpaste you're currently brushing with. You're still brushing with that stuff? Haven't you read it'll eat the enamel off your teeth and dry out your gums? You're like, ooh, really? You're repulsed by it. Now I have you in a neutral. You're open-minded. What are all the toothpastes out there? Then I give you my pitch for this brand new tartar control breath freshener toothpaste. So this drive neutral reverse, and they want to deride all the founders of America and make them all look bad so these kids will depart from them. Europe went through this during, you had 1,000 years of Catholic cathedrals, Protestant Reformation, and Jewish neighborhoods. But then Europe went through the French Revolution. It was secular. And it was tearing down churches and tearing, bones of St. Genevieve, trashing them and all this. And they pushed any secular belief. And now Europe is becoming Islamic and socialist, with Muhammad being the number one name for newborns. And Muslim.
Let's talk about the psychology behind that. So they pushed there is no God, right? Remove Christianity. And that vacuum created space, and then in that space just came Islam.
Right. So the whole sexual liberation agenda is a transition phase from the Judeo-Christian past to the socialist Islamic future. They need to first detach from the past, cut the anchor, and then get the population till they have no memory of where we came from. And so that's the whole trans, the free sex, anything goes. There was actually the first a lesbian city council member of Hamtramck, Michigan. And she was all happy that they were all tolerant. Well, guess what? The Muslims move in and take advantage of that tolerance and vote her out. And now they have a majority Muslim city council where they're pushing calls to prayer and Sharia type stuff. And they interviewed this lady. She's like, I didn't realize that they would come in and take advantage of the tolerance and then kick us out, right? But the movement does not. In other words, sin blinds you to the effects of sin, and the sexual agenda is blinded to the effects of the sexual agenda. All it does is tear down. There's an interesting quote from Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, if I'm saying their names correctly. They were talking about how they had their whole careers of tearing down Judeo-Christian faith, and they're asking each other sort of a reflective question. It said, did you ever think that maybe by us tearing down the Christian faith that we're actually opening the door for Islam to come in? And they pause, we don't want to think about that. Right? And so Islam is aggressive. It's like an invasive species. There's a 1,400-year track record of it coming in and eradicating previous cultures. And I wrote a whole book on it. It's called What Every American Needs to Know About the Quran, A History of Islam in the United States. It goes back to Muhammad being the DNA, and Muhammad's life went through 3 stages. He was a religious leader in the pagan city of Mecca and only made 70 converts in 12 years. He gets confrontational. They chase him out. He is now a Muslim refugee. He goes north to a Jewish city called Medina, and they let him in as a Muslim immigrant. He goes into the minority neighborhoods like a community organizer and gets a following. When his following gets big enough, he gets involved in politics. And he pressures the Jews to accommodate him and his followers politically, and they make a treaty. Now Muhammad's a political leader. And then Muhammad allows his followers to rob the caravans headed to Mecca in retaliation for the Meccans chasing him out of town. And he gets verses from his Allah. Allah has given you the slave girls as your booty. He gets a fifth of the booty, and they're robbing. He fights in 66 battles, killing an estimated 3,000 people. He becomes a military leader. And so since Muhammad himself went from being a religious leader to a political leader to a military leader, and he's the ideal, his life is called the Sunnah, the way, the example, that those that want to follow him religiously, and then politically, and then militarily. So there's a 1,400-year track record of them coming into host cultures as immigrants, and then building a support base and getting involved and getting elected into politics, and then random outbreaks of violence, usually by the young men, and then the previous inhabitants of the neighborhood no longer feel safe and move out, and they take over the neighborhood, city by city, country by country.
All right, so do you think it's too late? I mean, I have to ask you the question, is it too late? Is it too late for our country to come back from this massive amount of degradation we have in our country?
No, it's never too late.
Hold on a second, time out. The never too late, I mean, I use that too, works out really well. But Doc, you're smart, you understand math, you understand the complexities of the rot that we face, right? So institutionally, has led into government, who's led into our judiciary, led into our legislature. It's created false selected, elections. It's everywhere. It is pervasive. Would you agree?
It is. It is very, very serious. But it was a miracle that Trump got elected. I was in Seoul, Korea, with Charlie Kirk 4 days before he was shot. We met with a pastor's son, S-O-N, Pastor Son. He pastors Seguro Church in Busan. It's a mega church. And the Koreans used Huawei computers for their election. Huawei is a communist Chinese company. And guess what? A pro-communist Chinese person won the presidency in South Korea. He immediately sends people to Beijing for their military parade, never been done before, reaches out to North Korea. And then he's pushing the trans agenda. And Pastor Son got 1 million Koreans to protest the trans agenda. This current president of South Korea has his house raided, seizes his cell phones and computers, files 22 lawfare charges against him. And we're meeting with Charlie Kirk. And Charlie says, if they arrest you, I personally am going to call President Trump. Pulls out his phone, starts texting Marco Rubio. And 2 days after we left, they arrested Pastor Son. And Charlie's staff said, we're going to focus on this full time. We got one last event in Utah, and then we're going to focus on it. Well, guess what happened? He didn't make it past that event in Utah.
So this, you just actually added some context. I just got that thing happened. When you get that thing up the back of your neck. So Charlie said, I'm going to call President Trump if you're arrested.
I was in the room, with Rob McCoy and Ryan Hilfenbein of Liberty University.
I know Rob McCoy. Yeah, good dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's now in jail?
Yeah. And they have seized his son's phones. They've raided military bases and seized their computers, the ones that work together with the Americans, never been done before. 25% of South Korea is Christian. They used to give out New Testaments to the soldiers, right? But they've been infiltrated. Communists realize that they just come in with money and they can buy up stuff.
Are you telling me that South Korea has gone the way of the United States on their election systems?
Yeah. They're doing what they were doing after what Biden got in. They're literally hunting down people that have anti-leftist government tendencies, and they're coming up with bogus charges to come after them. And so even the Washington Times, the newspaper in Washington, D.C., it's a conservative paper, and it's part owned by the Unification Church. I know it's a little different, but the head of it...
The Moonies.
Right. The head of it, Sung Myung Moon, he passed away, but his 82-year-old widow had her house raided, and they put her in prison. An 82-year-old widow, what kind of threat she's going to be, right? And so now the Washington Times, this conservative newspaper in America, is saying, wait, what is going on in South Korea that they are cracking down on people that disagree with the fact that they stole the election? And we met with business leaders that are afraid to speak out against this, and church leaders that are afraid to speak out. It's sort of like what they did to the January 6th people. They want to hunt them down and go after them. It was a miracle that Trump won the second term. He's not a globalist. He's pushing back on their globalist agenda. He's not perfect, but he's got backbone, and he's standing up to make America great. But anyway, talking about it's never too late. It was a miracle he got in. I still believe that God's got some more miracles in that are available. But
the things that you're telling me are problematic because nobody's talking about it. And nobody's talking about the correlation between Charlie Kirk going there saying, I'll call President Trump myself if you're arrested, comes back, goes to Utah State, Charlie gets murdered, assassinated, and then they arrest him.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
I mean, think about that. Dr. Federer, think about what you just said, right? I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in, and I do believe that there's enough going on in our media right now, enough chaos, that things like this get covered up.
I talked to a guy that used to be a PSYOPs military officer.
Yep.
And I said, tell me about what is this PSYOPs? He goes, okay, we were in Afghanistan, and there was a Muslim imam that was causing us problems. And if we would have killed the imam, they would have risen up and gotten crazy. So we started a parade in the middle of town with loudspeakers thanking the imam by name for helping Americans behind the scenes. And we went to his door and put a basket of fruit on his doorstep. He says, by the time we got back to the base, that problem was taken care of. I'm like, what do you mean? His own people killed him.
Yeah.
They believe this PSYOPs. And he went on to tell me, I'm just reporting it, he says, remember when COVID happened and there was all those body bag pictures in New York? He says, we did that. Those were empty body bags. That was a PSYOPs. I mean, we're experiencing, so...
who is, what is his name? Who is, if you can?
No, I mean,
if you don't, no,
I can put him in touch with you, but I don't know.
Sure,
if
I was gonna ask if I could put in touch. Sorry, keep going.
I've got 3 different friends that are former PSYOPs officers, and they've
make a note of it.
Me
All
stuff.
right.
That basically, there's a book by Michael Waller, and it's called
I had him on. Yeah.
How Cold War heroes became dupes of the deep state.
Had him on my show. He's awesome.
So it was Obama that all these tactics that were used during the Cold War to basically, overthrow pro-Soviet leaders and have these countries be more pro-Western. Obama turned all these things inward on America. And so in 2015, if I get the date right, Obama signed an executive order using behavioral science insights for the benefit of the American people. What's behavioral science insights? It's PSYOPs. And it says right in there, to study people, how they make the decisions and how this can be used for the pushing an agenda in America. And then Obama, so during the Cold War, the Mockingbird Project, it was Carl Bernstein, Watergate reporter, CIA, and the press. It's a 1977 Rolling Stone magazine article. And he says that the CIA under Allen Dulles has 400 assets in the mainstream media. And they were feeding talking points that at the time were more or less warning America to the Soviet threat. And so the liberals found out about this, and they didn't like the anti-Soviet. So they passed the Smith-Mundt Modernization
Act.
The Smith-Mundt Act, which stopped it. Then Obama brings the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which reallows Obama to go back to having the CIA create these talking points and feed them to the press in America. And so the Smith-Mundt Act stopped it. Smith-Mundt Modernization Act brought it back. And then Obama signed, I think in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, the Countering Foreign Propaganda and Disinformation Act, which gave him the authority to decide what's disinformation and cancel it. And basically he considers anybody that's conservative disinformation, weaponizing the country against, Catholics that are pro-life and against moms that speak out against the trans agenda at school board meetings, right? So these tactics that were used, the psychological ones, to try to turn other countries pro-American, Obama used these to turn inward on America for political, sort of like he got Lois Lerner to have the IRS target conservative groups. And when she was asked to testify, she pled the fifth and stood up and walked out. Right? Here, they were weaponizing it. Well, so Obama's been doing that, did that with all these different departments. And Trump is trying to dismantle these things.
How do you dismantle what is institutionally implemented into the foundation? Like that poison goes very, very deep. You talked about the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. That we have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. We have all 3. Right now, we could pass laws to undo that. Do you know how many Republicans on our side have even toyed with the idea?
No, I don't know the number, but I feel for Mike Johnson because he only has like a 1-vote margin. We got so many rhinos.
That's all you need.
Well, there's rhinos that all he needs is for a couple to flip and say, we'll vote. Sort of like Texas. Texas had a Republican majority win, a bunch of rhinos called the Democrats and said, hey, we'll vote for the Democrats in to be speaker if you'll, and it's like, what are the rhinos betraying the Republican Party in Texas? But so you have USAID, and Trump was trying to cut the funding from USAID. Why? Because it is doing all these underhanded things that are against America's interest. You have Carrie Lake and canceling this Voice of America. Why? Because they're pushing a communist narrative. So there's attempts to try to scale back the deep state, but it's hard because you got these liberal judges wanting to stop Trump. There's something called the SES, Senior Executive Service. It's a union of the top people in all the federal departments. And by law, a new president can only fire 10% of them. The rest of them are union members. And to get rid of a union member, it's like really hard. And so Obama filled the SES with Islamists and communists and all those rest. So they're embedded into the machinery. And so it's a cancer that's in there. So we need to, I think if we got more Republicans elected, then Mike Johnson would have more room to work with, that if some rhinos weren't going along, he could have enough people that could go along to trim back some of these things. But you're right. It is very serious. I think, there's a lot of voter fraud. I personally experienced when I ran for Congress, a lot of voter fraud. They didn't leave my name off the ballot. Oh, that was
I had that conversation with Charlie, right? I've had that conversation with second in command,
Vance
Bowyer.
Okay, yeah.
I've had that conversation, and they all told me I was crazy. Right? Now I'm a system architect. There's tons of evidence of election fraud. The entire system is fraudulent. Dominion, ES&S, Smartmatic. I mean, we have more evidence. They just keep moving the goalposts. That's not enough evidence. That's not enough evidence. You have judges that are basically throwing it out on standing, doing all the things that they can do. We have all the evidence to prove that our election systems are absolutely fraudulent. So you're never going to get to a place where you have the density that you need in Republicans, because Republicans are doing the biddings of the Democrats. You just said what they did in Texas. Hey, we'll elect a Democrat, speaker. To cut off what's happening with the Republicans. Like, we don't have a really good record. Even Mike Johnson doesn't have a great record. Lots of people don't have a good record because they're taking money from foreign entities. Right? Am I saying wrong? Am I wrong about this? I mean,
it's very serious. But again, I keep coming back that it was a miracle that Trump got in. So in other words, I have to be careful, because if I share too many stories, people say, well, why even bother getting involved? It's like, no, we can get involved. Let's overwhelm the system with good people. Right? They'll try to stop it, but they can't stop everybody. So,
but why can't we get everyone on board to be intellectually honest and say, if we don't get rid of the machines and the mail-in ballots, our country has no chance. It's finished.
Yeah.
Because someone is running that. We don't know who that someone is, right? And why is it this so hard for us all? I don't care who it is, Doc. I don't care who has to get in the room. I don't even care if I have a seat at the table. I could care less about it. But why is it that we operate from this fear of loss? This is a tough question because, frankly, it's been a tough 5 years. It was a miracle President Trump got involved. Here's what happened, though. It was 5:30 in the afternoon. None of the polls were even set yet. Polls were not closed anywhere. Elon on the East Coast looks at his phone. I'm sorry, it was 6:30. It wasn't 5:30. Looks at his phone and says, "It's done." This is documented. It's done. President Trump's going to win. He got on a plane and flew away from Mar-a-Lago. It's done. That means that they know. That means everyone knows on every side. They know that the election systems are fraudulent. Why is it we can't be honest about it? And maybe that's a tough question. Maybe that's an almost impossible question to answer.
Yeah, well, I'm not familiar with the Elon Musk quote there, but I do know that, like when I ran for Congress, 98, 2000, 2004, two of those times was against Richard Gebhardt. He was the House Minority Leader. He was the Hakeem Jeffries back then.
Yeah.
And I think it was historic. We had the top 3 Republicans come in and campaign for me against the top Democrat. Dennis Hastert, Dick Armey, J.C. Watts. We had actually had the president's uncle, co-chair of my finance committee, Bucky Bush. And then I had Chuck Norris doing commercials, Ted Nugent, Art Linkletter, Zig Ziglar, Alan Keyes, Judge Moore, Phyllis Schlafly, James Dobson. It was a big deal. It was the most expensive congressional race in Missouri history. And we, on election day, we get phone calls that my name was accidentally left off the ballot in 5 wards in the city of St. Louis. We get calls that they lost the box of ballots from Guffey Elementary School, which was the biggest precinct that I personally stood in front of for 8 hours in the cold. And it's like, you lost? They lost the box. And then we were ahead, and the electricity goes off in the Board of Election, and when they reboot, we're behind. And it's like, they even had a guy named Robert D. Odom who went in to vote, and his name was not on the registered voter list. So he brought a lawsuit to keep the polls open late, and the federal judge orders the polls to stay open until midnight in St. Louis. The next day, they find out that Robert D. Odom had died 2 years earlier. It's like, who brought the lawsuit? Well, somebody in the Democrat Party. And it went from front page to back page till it was forgotten. And when this happens to you, and you've spent 2 years of your life going to every meeting, neglecting your family, raising money, and then at the last minute, these things happen, right? So I know that these type of
How
things.
does your blood not boil?
Well, I mean, that was just the beginning of it. We had to fight lawsuits. Larry Klayman was the head of Judicial Watch, and then Tom Fitton took it over. We sued Gebhardt in federal court. I mean, we did all kinds of stuff. And but I'm still taking.
Won.
And Gebhardt has dropped off the map. So
but I'm sorry, but the bad guys won. You weren't put in the seat that you were supposed to be put in.
Yeah, I mean, but I take sort of a little retrospect. I thought, well, it did allow me to become somebody with a more national platform, and so I've been able to speak out and get involved in ways which before I was just maybe an author that had a book or two, So I tell people, you do your part, and then you got to trust the Lord with the rest. If you decide that it's hopeless and draw back, you're almost contributing to the problem. We still are the world's best hope, last best hope, as Reagan put it. If America were to fall, you would have Chinese communist dictators, Russian dictators, Ukrainian dictators, North Korean dictators, Iranian Ayatollah dictators. You'd have a gang war on a global scale with the most advanced weapons, and human rights and values would be crushed. Well, this is the last best hope, and it's worth fighting to preserve. And to see, Charlie Kirk getting literally hundreds of thousands of millions of these young people involved. They've had 160,000 requests for Turning Point chapters since Charlie's death, and I've spoken to these youth,
all over the world,
and they're just chomping at the bit to get involved. They want to, and so I sort of see this next year as one of extremes. You're going to have extreme wickedness, people coming out on the left with just ungodly, hard-hearted, pro everything evil. But then on the same time, you're going to have people be more excited, wanting to save America and stand up for Jesus, and it's almost like it's a decision-making moment, and let's do our part, and then we have to give it to the Lord, and you really can't do anything more than that.
So by the way, I don't want you to take my telling you is it too late in your response as that I don't want to have hopium. I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and you got to give it up to God. God is the only one that can solve some problems, but it does say faith without works is dead. So we need to make sure that we stay very committed to honoring the fact that God has put us here for a reason. We're here for a time like this. I mean, Charlie, by the way, he had all the education side covered. And we took for granted for the fact what he was able to do on the education front. He was a force of nature. And the catalyst, what they used for bad, was then ultimately used for good. And they have 160,000 different chapters that will be created, not just here in the United States, but around the world. And so I wanted to be the antagonist with you because I think people need to understand that this is not an option. Like just throwing your hands up in the air and saying, well, we can't do anything. It's over. It's over. Just call it a day. Just bring in Mao. We need him to stack himself up in D.C., right?
Yeah, there's a quote from Jonathan Trumbull. He was the Connecticut governor, who was for the British, but he switched over and became pro-American. He'd write a letter to George Washington. And he said, to trust altogether to the righteousness of our cause without our utmost exertion would be tempting Providence. In other words, we can't just sit back and say, well, we're on the right side. We just got to trust. No, you give your utmost exertion. You do everything you can, and then you trust the Lord. I mean, when the founders did the revolution, the King of England was a globalist. He was the most powerful person on the planet. The British Navy, he had armies and skilled generals, and we had a ragtag thrown together, no Navy. And so they said only maybe 15% of the country got behind Washington. Half the country were, loyalists. Half, another big chunk was sitting on the fence trying to see which side to go. Maybe some helped Washington from behind the scenes, but only 15% took the musket off their fireplace and went out there and actually fought. So heard somebody say there's three groups of people: those that make things happen, those that watch things happen, and those that wonder what happened. Right? So we're the ones that want to make things happen, but it's always a small group. Jesus had a dozen guys, apostles, but they turned the world upside down. On the flip side, Lenin only had 19 when he took over, in the Bolshevik Revolution. So for good or bad, a small group can make a big difference. And Charlie's an example of that. When I first met him, he was 19 years old. I was speaking in Robinson, Illinois, at a civic center with about 500 people, and he was the warm-up speaker for me, right? This teenager. But he did such a good job. I remember I couldn't concentrate on my notes before I got up. But in Seoul, Korea, 4 days before he was shot, I was the warm-up speaker for him. And to think that here, it just, what really was a short time, this one guy really changed the world. And that's an encouragement to everybody that you can make a big impact. You just got to be sold out. And then, the Bible stories, what are the ones we love the best? It looks hopeless. God raises up a Moses, a Gideon, a David, right? And they have faith and courage, and things turn around. And this is just our turn. And
all right, so I like to work the problem, and it's one of the things Charlie did really well because he was the great debater. Like he debated things, but we have to start recognizing this shift from religious tolerance, which I think enamored or created this sleepiness in our country, to what is happening to Christians. And I'm not just talking about Nigeria. I'm talking about open hostilities that we have in the United States and Canada and South and Central America, which were heavily Catholic, and even other stuff happening around the world. It's almost like a cancer that's spread across the world. How do we go from one to the other and then center that on things that should be pretty easy to understand? It should be not. We should never even have to debate it. We shouldn't be having a debate about ethics and morals when it's tied to values. But we have this infiltration of churches, infiltration of our institutions, churches being the most important, that are literally having pastors and people of faith leadership lie to the people. At the same time, they're allowing these bad things to happen to Christians. It feels very anemic. It feels like we're not. Am I describing that correctly? Is it?
Yeah. I put together a book called Silence Equals Consent. So the same way you're silent at a wedding ceremony, you're actually giving consent to the wedding. If you're silent when they're mutilating kids, you're giving your consent. You're not being holy. But I go through the 1600s where you literally had churches founding cities. So Providence, Rhode Island was founded by the First Baptist Church in America. Hartford, Connecticut was founded by the First Congregational Church in America, right? Everybody's involved in church and everybody's involved in city government because it's the church founding the city. But in the 1700s, you had a Great Awakening revival. And this said, look, it's more than a plan. You have to have an experience with Jesus. When you do, your life will change. You won't do worldly things anymore, like bars and brothels and government. Like, what was that last thing? Yeah, government, it's worldly. If you're really Christian, you won't be involved. That's where you get this idea that I'm holier than you are because I don't care what kind of country I'm leaving my kids. And so this idea, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Don't get involved in government because it's worldly. Well, why is it worldly? Because we're not involved in government. You know, in my book, I go through Romans 13. Let everyone be subject to the governing authority. Well, there's a question. In a monarchy, who's the governing authority? The king. In a republic, who's the governing authority? The people, right? A republic has citizens. The word citizen is the word for co-ruler, co-sovereign, co-king. And so the message from the Bible is different to people in different circumstances. If a man is single, you preach a message from the Bible, abstinence. If he gets married, you preach a different message from the Bible, be faithful to your wife. If somebody's living in a monarchy, you teach, okay, submit to the king. But if somebody's living in a republic, it's you are the king. The politicians are your servants. It would be silly in a republic to preach, don't get involved in politics, when it would be like telling a married man to stay abstinent. It's like, that doesn't work, right? In a republic, you need to teach that you, the citizen, are the king, and you will be held accountable to God for what happens. If things go south, it's your fault.
So Doctor, how do we go so far from the Thomas Jefferson letter that was written in the early 1800s, 1801, 1805, something like that? Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter, and then it basically is the foundation of the Supreme Court ruling of separation between church and state. Yet the foundational belief, but before Thomas Jefferson, was there's a separation between church and state, but you can take the church out of the state, but you can't take the state out of the church. Or excuse me, the other way around, right? So it was interpreted in such a way that took away authority of the church to get involved in politics, but that wasn't the intention that Thomas Jefferson had when he wrote the letter. I just got told 1802. Yes, I was close.
Yeah. So Europe was Catholic, and then the Reformation, and then you have each country had its own denomination. Germany was Lutheran, Switzerland, Calvinist, Scotland, Presbyterian, Holland, Dutch Reformed, England was Anglican. And if you did not believe the way the king did, you were persecuted, you fled. A lot of those people spilled over, founded colonies in America. Every colony was started by a different Christian denomination. Virginia was Anglican, Massachusetts was Puritan, Rhode Island was Baptist, Maryland Catholic, Connecticut and New Hampshire Congregationalist, Delaware and New Jersey were originally Swedish Lutheran, New York Dutch Reformed, Pennsylvania Quaker, and they did not get along, but they all had to work together against the king. After the Revolution, they had a fear that the new federal government was going to pick one Christian denomination and make it the national one, which is what many of the states had and which is what every country in Europe had. And so they wanted to tie the federal government's hands to keep religion under state's jurisdiction. So I read through every state constitution. 9 of the original state constitutions required office holders to be Protestant. 3, all you do is be a plain Christian. I shared this with Charlie. I was on Charlie Kirk's show, and he caught on to it, and he used it in his debates, and he even texted me one of his debates. It's like, hey, I used your stuff. And so
he used it on the stage when he called out someone for saying that was an actual racist, that you actually don't support President Trump if you are a racist. It was that speech that he used your work.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I would, for 20 years, I've been saying the most important thing is to bring people to Christ, but the second most important thing is to preserve the freedom to do the most important thing. And he liked that as well. And but this idea is that Connecticut was a congregational state from the founding of Thomas Hooker, 1639. And they only had one denomination in Connecticut, the congregational denomination. We become a new country. And the state loosens up and lets Baptists in. But they're sort of second-class citizens. And that's when they write the letter to Thomas Jefferson saying, sir, we recognize as the national legislator, you cannot overrule the laws of the states, but we believe that religion is something between man and God. And as Congregationalists, we shouldn't be treated as second-class citizens, or Baptists in the Connecticut congregational state. And Jefferson writes back, believing with you that religion is something between God and men, that the government has no right to intervene, and that there's a wall of separation between church and state. Right? So Jefferson helped disestablish the Anglican Church in Virginia. And you had Patrick Henry and George Washington wanted to keep the Episcopal Church established, which is like Anglican without a king. And so the people that were against disestablishing it were called anti-disestablishmentarianism. Used to be the longest word in the English language.
Yeah.
But Jefferson helped disestablish the Anglican Church. Now he's president. These Baptists say, gee, we would help that we'd like you to disestablish this congregational church, but we realize you really can't as the president, but gee, we really wish that your views would spread like the rays of the sun would shine. But Jefferson writes back to him saying, I agree with you, that the government shouldn't have any say. They shouldn't be treating you as a second-class citizen because you're a Baptist in a congregational state. That was the framework. And the Baptists, when they were first started in England, their little Bible studies were raided, and they were dragged before the Star Chamber. It's a room with stars on the ceiling. They would twist their arm, cut off their ear, brand them on the face as a heretic, put them in the Newgate prison, and didn't feed them, and they would starve to death. And so these Baptists fled. We call them pilgrims. And then they settled in New England. And then, so they did not like government raiding their churches and telling them when to shut their church down and when they could open and what they could preach about from the pulpit and what they couldn't preach about. They wanted to keep the government out of their church. And so Jefferson was agreeing with them. And that was the understanding up until 1947. And that was the Everson case. And that was Hugo Black was the Supreme Court justice. He had been a judge 1 year as a police court judge. That's his only legal experience. And he became a Democrat senator from Alabama, former KKK member, Hugo Black. He's on the Supreme Court. And there are some states giving bus rides to Catholic students. And some of the Protestant states tried to stop it. And the case goes to the Supreme Court. And Hugo Black takes religion out of the state's jurisdiction, puts it under the federal. And so he says the First Amendment means at least this: neither the state nor a federal government can establish one religion, prefer one over the other. And it's like, wait a second. Didn't you read these state constitutions that some of the states were congregational and some were Baptist? And so after he gets elected, or after he passes this Everson case, Hugo Black has written a letter by somebody that says, have you read the debates of the First Amendment? And Daniel Dreisbach, in his biography of this, separation of church, state, and Jefferson, talks about Hugo Black taking the letter, turning it over, writing a note to his law clerk, get me the debates of the First Amendment. The guy, Hugo Black, that took a religion out of state's jurisdiction had never read the debates of the First Amendment. He had no clue what it meant. Yet he made the decision, and now it's law. Here's a former KKK member with only 1 year as experience as a police court judge. And he makes this decision, and now it's law of the land, that religion is taken out of state's jurisdiction. And then the next decade, you have the 1957 Washington Ethical Society wants tax exemption as a religious organization, and the IRS says you're an ethical society, you're not religious. Hugo Black, Supreme Court, says ethical culture is now a religion. And then you have Joe Torcaso wants to be a notary in Maryland. He doesn't want to say, so help me God. Hugo Black says there are now new religions which do not acknowledge a supreme being, right? Among them are secular humanism, so now it's a religion. And
Which
you have
is a religion, and then you have people that say that there is no God, and that became a religion, and you have Satanists, that became a religion.
Yeah. Draft dodgers during the Vietnam War, Elliot Welsh wanted to be a atheist, religious, conscientious objector. And the court says, okay, atheism is your religion, right? You get to be a religious, conscientious objector. So now by kicking God out, they're actually establishing the religion of atheism, which is violating the First Amendment, which says Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. So these judges are brilliant. They're able to take Jefferson's words to prohibit what Jefferson believed. Yes. Jefferson believed in a creator. He mentions it in the Declaration. Yet they're able to take Jefferson's words, separation of church and state, out of context to prohibit the very creator that Jefferson believes in.
But how has this stood for so many years? How has it been the foundation of most of the arguments that you get from, I call them radical leftists or progressives, or people that frankly have adopted dog whistles and don't understand history. I mean, I just got a history lesson from you, right?
Yeah,
And
well, three things happened. One, you had an Irish potato famine. So at the time of the founding, 98% of the country was Protestant, 3 million people, 1% Catholic, 30,000 Catholics in a country of 3 million people. Catholics were originally only allowed in 3 states, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and New York. And then 0.1% Jewish, 3,000 Jews, 7 synagogues in a country of 3 million people. And then you have an Irish potato famine. Millions of Irish Catholics come to America. They go from 1% to 20% in a decade. And there's a large anti-Catholic backlash, and then it settles down. And then many states change their state constitutions to say all you got to do is be a Christian, no longer Protestant, just a plain Christian. Then there's a persecution of Jews in Bavaria, middle 1800s, 250,000 come across. They go from 0.1% to 1%. And then Thomas Kennedy, a Presbyterian in Maryland, changes the state constitution to say every officer there to be a Christian, and if the party shall profess to be a Jew, the declaration shall be of a belief in a future state of rewards and punishments. After the Civil War, many states rewrote their constitution to say all you had to do is believe in God, right? But you drop the pebble in the pond, the ripples go out. You can see first it's tolerance only for the denomination that started the colony, then it went out to Protestants, then Catholics, then Jews, anybody that believes in God, finally to the Satanists, the trans, and everything else, and the last one's in when it kicked the first ones out. So everybody's tolerated in America except the Christians that founded the country. So it's backfired. So I wrote a book by that title.
I got to read that book. I've got to read that book. Like, guys, get me that book, like right now, please. I've got to read that book.
What's it called?
It's called Backfired, A Nation Born for Religious Tolerance No Longer Tolerates the Religion of Its Founders. Another book is called The Original 13, where I read through every charter of every colony and then every state constitution. So I take Virginia, from a 1606 charter, 1609 charter, all the way to 16, and then the first state constitution and all the amendments to the state constitution, all the way up to the present. And then I do the same for North Carolina and South Carolina and Georgia. So you get this picture of a snapshot of the entire history of Maryland, from Lord Baltimore founding it all the way up to Madeline Murray O'Hare. And you get to see this timeline state by state. And each state advanced religious freedom at its own speed, like a racetrack with 13 lanes. And so some states today have gambling, others don't. Some states have marijuana, others don't. Some states have prostitution, Nevada, thank God the rest don't. Back then, some states were rural and they did not have blue laws. And other states like Connecticut were really small and they had blue laws where you couldn't even ride in a carriage on a Sunday. But it was up to each state to decide. So religion was under state's jurisdiction up until that Everson case in 1947, when they took religion out of state's jurisdiction. And but now you see this entrance of Islamism and Satanism and trans. I was with a Anglican priest, Father Calvin Robinson, big tall black guy. You may have seen his debates on YouTube with Oxford. He's brilliant. He was there at Oxford. He's conservative. They call him, right wing. But anyway, he he's pastoring in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And he said, I cannot go back to England. I said, why? He goes, they'll arrest me. I go, why? He goes, censorship laws. 16,000 people are in prison in England, some for as little as liking a post. Or retweeting a post. He says they're letting murderers and rapists out of jail and putting people who have forwarded a post in jail in England. And then in Sweden, or Finland, there is a parliamentarian, and she's before their Supreme Court because she tweeted a Bible verse. And then you have, in Seoul, Korea, right? They're raiding pastors' houses, and these freedoms are being threatened. And so we need to.
Well, we had the same thing that happened here.
Yeah.
We had someone that prayed in front of an abortion clinic and was locked up and put in jail by our own DOJ in 2022. That actually happened. Was sentenced to, I think, 4 years or 5 years. And, there are people in this country that have been arrested for tweets, arrested for making comments. So it's not even just what's happening there. They're finding creative ways around. The 1512 laws in the J6ers, same thing. They took a law that was designed for people that were basically obstructing official proceedings tied to Enron, and they used that to say you're not allowed to execute your redress of grievances at the state capitol during a counting of the vote.
You know, every totalitarian regime in history, once they seize power, they want to arrest and kill off all their opponents. I mean, even Bible stories, you'll have a King Joash, and he gets in, what does he do? He kills off all his brothers, anybody that challenges the throne. There's a Muslim Sultan, Murad the First, and he has a harem, lots of wives, and he says it for the sake of the Ottoman Empire, it behooves the son that seizes power to kill all his brothers, right? And so, you know, so this idea of once you seize power, you want to kill off any threat to your, and so that's what they did. They stole the election with Biden, and they wanted to do J6 and get all of the conservatives. And I mean, I talked to an 80-year-old lady, and the FBI is like wanting to put her in jail because she was, you know, there with a bus load of old people for January 6th. I mean, it was insane. But this is what tyrants do. Trump is pushing back on this. He's the last best hope that's over America.
He's the great pope, right?
Yeah, I mean, who else can cough up $450 million for a bogus fine? I mean,
remember what he said though? Well, how'd you do it? He goes, cash.
Cash.
I mean, I mean, I ran for office, and you know, you look at the Roman Empire when the Roman Republic was winding down and turning into a Roman Empire. It became a game of rich people, Crassus, Pompey, and Caesar, and so to even vie for leadership, you had to be in this very top tier. We're sort of in the last stages of the life cycle of our republic, and for that matter, globally as well. So this is this is a game for keeps, and I think that we need to win the midterms.
Doc, you know what you just said. I mean, let's be. You said we're in basically the ninth inning of our republic. I mean, everything that you just said about the Roman Empire is exactly what's happening right now in the United States, or globally, for that matter.
Yeah. You know,
You could be in the transition phase to an empire. I mean, empires can, or republics or whatever, they can fizzle out. They can completely implode like a supernova, or they can turn into an empire. And say the Holy Roman Empire, okay, it's not a republic, but that also led to the Pax Americana. So I kind of look at, and this is maybe bargaining, I kind of look at like best case, like we're going to transition to some sort of empire. But if that's what it takes to stop the the irreversible march of satanic pedophile transitioning kids, I kind of take that as a win. That's just my 2 cents. Sorry for interrupting, Dr. Federer.
No, that's good. So Will and Ariel Durant wrote a multi-volume history of the world, and they observed trends. One of the trends was, as a nation becomes more advanced, they wait longer to have children and have fewer of them. And the less advanced nations start earlier and have more kids. And he goes, in this way, the laws of nature seem to punish the more advanced by having the less advanced have more kids and overrun them. So Rome was being invaded by the Ostrogoths and the Visigoths, and they were having lots of kids. And Julius Caesar wanted to have the Latin, the Italians had more kids, and so he forbade women who had no children from wearing certain fashions and riding around in those, the poles where the servants would carry you on your shoulders, before, with the wheels, but it still didn't help, because the Romans would want to enjoy their pleasures, and they wanted to have fewer, the women wanted to have fewer kids. And so you look at population-wise, when I was in Seoul, Korea with Charlie, he says, Korea has one of the lowest birth rates in the world. He says, you're breeding yourself out of existence. You're all working really hard and waiting to get married, but you're not having kids. He goes, I know how this game plan works. They're going to say, we got to let the Chinese immigrants come in to work the jobs, and they'll take over your country that way. But you look at the average, the Muslim immigrants coming into Western countries take advantage of the welfare. And the guy will have his 4 wives, put them each in a house or apartment, and say, go down to the welfare office and say your husband's not around. And they get welfare checks. And the guy visits his wives, and the more children they have, the larger the welfare checks get. And he's living with his harem, and it's all paid for at state expense. And the average Muslim woman, that's a fundamental one, has 5 children. And yet the Europeans are having maybe 1 kid. And so they estimate Canada, within 2030, there'll be enough just population-wise for them to vote in their Sharia law.
That's scary. I'm gonna deviate a little. I'm gonna take a right-hand turn on you. You spent 4 days before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. You spent that time with Charlie in Korea, South Korea. I got a phone call 1 minute after Charlie was shot, and 2 things happened to me. One, I was with my wife in the mountains. I picked up the phone, called Laura Logan almost immediately, and said, "Hey." And then I just became so angry because I knew right away. How are you feeling? I had it. I mean, is that an appropriate question? Can I ask you? You lost your friend. You were just with him 4 days earlier. I mean, where?
Yeah, I mean, I knew him for at least 10 years. We texted like almost every other week or so. And, on faith stuff, he'd ask me, tell me about John Adams, tell me about the Treaty of Tripoli, tell me about socialism, tell me about Islam. And I send out an email, it's called AmericanMinute.com, and I post my stuff on there. And he asked me to be a part of TurningPointEd.com. So I produce a weekly video called How We Got Here. You can go to TurningPointEd.com, look at resources, click down, you can put in your email and you get it. But I got a text from him less than a day before he was shot, and it was 1 Corinthians 16:9. There's a wide door of effective ministry open for me, but there are many adversaries. I didn't eat or sleep for days. I had to go speak in Baltimore, came back. My wife was asleep. I mean, it was a gut blow. And I'm not like a person that has like visions or anything, but my wife was asleep. We live in Florida, and before the sun goes down, sometimes it's a pinkish, orangish sort of hue to the sky, and we have a lanai with a hammock, and I've maybe laid in the hammock maybe twice since we moved in. But I said, you know what, I'm just going to lie there, and I was just thinking about everything, and I zonked out. And I had this sort of like in a dream imagination of Charlie walking onto the lanai saying, I need your help to keep this thing going. Can you do it? And it was like an imagination. So I thought, I want to imagine some more, and I couldn't, and I woke up. And I thought, that's sort of the attitude that maybe we all need to take. Instead of sitting back saying, hey, what's going to happen? It's like, no, we need to jump in with both feet and say, what can we do to keep this thing going? Or we got a whole bunch of young people that are motivated to save Western civilization, right? And they're chomping at the bit, and we can, and again, when I first met Charlie, he was 19. And how many 19-year-olds have we met? And for those that are watching that are young, you can change the world. And so I have to say, being at the memorial with 75,000 people in a football stadium, 25,000 in overflow, the entire leadership of the most powerful nation in the world, the president, Vice President Vance talking about Jesus, and Hegseth talking about Jesus, and Rubio and Tulsi Gabbard quoting scriptures, and 200 million streaming online. I mean, what other 31-year-old do you know that could die that have the whole world take notice? I mean, this is something that nobody could have planned. But when Erica Kirk forgave her husband's killer, that was something totally unexpected. I mean, everybody knew she was going to give a really touching remark, but it's like, she's not going to go there. She did. She talked about her husband's killer right then, and she says, I forgive him. And I felt like a healing oil of the Holy Spirit come over that whole stadium and sort of over the whole movement. And later, I realized that it actually broke a narrative that the left was trying to build. So I wrote a book on socialism. I talk about color revolutions in Europe.
Yeah.
After the World War II, and they would go into a country, identify the groups, and categorize them as victims and oppressors, haves and have-nots, and they needed radicals on both sides to pit them against each other to create civil unrest that would be an excuse for them to seize power and do a regime change. And you could tell this is where it was going because there were some quotes from Hillary right after this saying it's those Christian white men, they're the problem. And she was trying to say, okay, we got this radical left. We didn't want to label a radical right. But it was like trying to spark wet wood. Nobody was buying it because here's Erica Kirk forgiving the husband's killer. And you don't overcome hate with hate. You overcome hate with love. And that was, to me, I still don't understand. I still haven't processed Charlie being killed. But to me, that was a momentous moment that I can see that the Lord working through this situation. And again, I can get caught up in the emotion of just an amazing young man that he was. And we actually spent like 2 hours together with Rob McCoy and Ryan Helfenbein and my son Michael. We were in the little room before you go out on stage, and Mikey McCoy was like saying, "Don't let him go to sleep because he's going to speak in a half an hour or an hour, whenever it was." And he hasn't had any sleep because you lose your time zone or however that works. Yeah. And so and Charlie was like, no, it's okay. And he's like, but then we start talking about religion. We start talking about faith. We start talking about, and he just perks up. And he was like, from that point on, he was in top gear. But anyway, I just an amazing young man that,
I have another, President Trump, when he got on that stage, Erica Kirk taught him a lesson on that stage. Because when he got on the stage with her, he had to say, I don't pray for my enemies. And I felt the heaviness of how he felt. One, he was shot at, right? Then he loses a friend because Charlie Kirk was his friend. And here we are trying to figure it out. How do you think President Trump, how do we help President Trump? Let's just say that. How do we help him? Because I feel like he's on an island.
Yeah, pray for him. I know lots of people that know him. I've met him a couple times, but I don't have like a relationship with him. But I do believe that he has chosen really good people to surround himself with. There may be, some, but I think the majority of them are really good people. And so, but I'm very hopeful. I pray for him all the time. But I just noticed the clock, and I have another interview that they're going to be at, and I think I'm going to be late for that. But I'd love to be on with you again if you're open to that.
1,000%. I literally just took 1,000 pages of notes, so much so the people online were like, Joe, keyboard noise.
I'll swap each other's phone numbers right now.
Yeah.
So,
Dr. Federer,
anyway.
Yeah, just how can people follow you? Let's start this end there, and then I'll connect you with you. I'll have you back on again because there are definitely things that I think people need to hear about what's next, right?
Well, thank you for asking. My website's AmericanMinute.com, AmericanMinute.com. And then if you want to go to turningpointed.com, click on resources, scroll down, look at how we got here, and you can put your email in and get those videos as well. But my website's AmericanMinute.com.
All right, Dr. Federer, thank you. God bless you, and thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. God bless.
Dr. Federer.
Right, God bless you. Yeah.
Cool guy.
Man, he's amazing.
He's an encyclopedia.
And I'm going through and I'm writing everything down. I'm going through the information that I know, and it sparks me to start looking at other things. And he talked about Virginia and the Commonwealth, and and I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's only 3 countries or 3 states that are like Virginia, and it's antithetical that their elections went the way they are based on how basically the organ of the state is created. But Yeah,
He
I'd
walks
love
the walk, man. I first had him on about a little over 4 years ago, like height of COVID, and yeah, as I had like 100 subscribers maybe, and he came on. He came on several times, and would at the end, it's all very easy in hindsight to be like stand up for free. In the thick of it, he was like, hey, you're being tried by God. You know, keep working hard. And again, yeah, faith without works is dead. He was like, it's gonna be bad. He's like, you can't just say you're doing the right thing. He's like, and
Embrace
sure
the
enough,
suck.
it was. Yeah, I was banned from all these things, lost all the money, but Dr. Federer's he's the real deal, man. And if on those episodes, he would always tie it back into, because I would say what you're saying, and mind you, this is 2021. I'm like, is it all over? It seems like it's over. And he would be like, you have to throw yourself at the problem and work hard. But he was like, ultimately, I think he kind of asked me with that in so many words. He was like, do you believe in God or not? And is that just a phrase you say, or is it something you feel? And he helped me get to the point of actual faith, of actually like, that's not just a nice thing I say. It's not, just make the sign of the cross. And it was like, do you actually believe in God? And yeah, I mean, yeah, man, I do. And 4 years later, I'm here. So he's the real deal, man.
It's two things, and then we're going to take a commercial break, and I want to come back. I want to reset from what he was saying, because frankly, there's so many questions that I had for him. One, we talk about young people, and we talk about what we can do for them. I've created this kind of idea that I just sent up the ladder to Turning Point and said, you've left men behind. You're trying to turn boys into men, but you've left the men behind. In other words, there should be a turning point for men. There should be a place for a brotherhood. There should be a place that, I wear this ring, right? Put on the full armor of God, right? That's what it literally is, kind of a symbol for me. It doesn't come off my hand. I don't take it off for anything. I take it off when I'm in the shower. If I'm doing this, I'll play with it a little bit, but I sleep with it on. I wear it. Ephesians 6:13. I'm going to put on the full armor of God. I'm going to get up every day deliberately knowing that I have to fight the enemy, deliberately knowing that I have to not just believe in God, but I have to trust him, right? And, we have this men's group that I've been talking about that we built, 341 people, 50 showed up. We're down to 30, 31, 32 people in the group. Those 32 people and of that, probably 20 show up. And we say, hey, look, if you're not committed, just let me know. We'll take you out of the deal. But imagine if we could go through this process of giving men the ability to have conversations about things, to just be men across the country. Imagine what would happen if you had that the ethos is really simple. You must be loyal, you must be kind, you must be, loose lips sink ships, you can't talk about it outside of this deal, that men have to be accountable to other men. If we had that across the entire country, imagine the outcome of that.
The connective tissue, yeah.
It would change the world.
Yeah.
It would break the back of these leftists.
And it really, there is, and it's because we're at such like a moral pit right now. It's kind of the beauty of being at rock bottom, is very little can make a difference, right? It's if you're in the top 3 Olympic runners in the world, like, man, you got to be like shaving behind your ears to cut off nanoseconds. Versus if you're me, I'm like, yeah, I could probably cut off 10% of a 100-meter sprint in a week, right? So the upside to being so rotted through right now is very little can make a massive difference. Literally, just I have people on my podcast watching, like, like, man, this had to change in my life, and it's very simple things. It's like saying, like, hey, man, do the right thing, even if like you don't have like little stuff like that. That's laughably simple, but I think what you're saying is like there is such a desert of any sort of men being accountable to men, or even just talking and not feeling, because you don't see it on Facebook. You only see, when you're around friends and family, it's like, hey, do the right thing, or, discipline the kid, or this sucked, but I'm going to get through it. I think absolutely that's kind of the benefit of being at the bottom right now, is very little can actually make a big difference.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, 100%. Well, we're going to take a quick break. While we do, go ahead and hit the share button. I'm going to have him Dr. Federer back on. I'm just going to get raw with him next time because now my questions are really, I got a lot of questions. So we're gonna talk about the societal decay. We're gonna talk about what's happened with the Olympics, which I think is necessary. But there's an underpinning happening, like what he was talking about in South Korea. We haven't heard any of that.
I'd never
We've heard none of it. So we have to prepare ourselves for what's next. Like we're coming into I'm just going to say this. If you trust God, you have to trust God all the way through to even things that you don't like. And I had a friend of mine tell me that, Joe, if God's real, why is there so much suffering? And I was like, man, you had Jesus die on a cross. He was whipped. He was betrayed. Like all the things that you feel, Tommy, all the things that we experience, Jesus experienced all of those things in like the shortest period of time possible, right? It's like he showed us all of it like, boom, this is all happening right now, right? And so suffering is necessary because if you didn't have suffering, and then you go to sacrifice, like why would I sacrifice these things? And so you have sacrifice and suffrage that you have to have. You have to have these things like, well, I don't want it. Well, what would life look like if we weren't having conversations and everything was peachy keen? You're talking about the Garden of Eden. There's no need for advancements. There's no need to learn. There's no need for, because what are you learning against if there's no friction in your life? And I just got done spending all this time with Dave Bear, and I'm leaving here to go be with him again after this, but I'm with him and I don't know how to fix the issue that he has because I can't fix cancer. I can't fix it, Tommy. I can't fix it. I want to fix it. I can't fix it. I can't fix it. So then I have to be. Then I have to have faith. Then I have to sit there and pray and be like, God, just heal him. Please, just heal him. Just make it so that he actually gets back his color. Like, I want him to be healed. But you got to be okay with the fact that he's not healed. That makes sense?
For me, a lot of times, I walk out on all these different things and, the faith and like, I'm okay, I get it, the suffering, the whole, everything you just said. And I think the biggest thing I've had to accept is that God's plan, God's most perfect plan for me, where it all works out well, could very well be that I'm dead in 3 hours. And you go, whoa, wait, no. I get it. The podcast is going to struggle and, all this stuff. What are you talking about? And if you really trust in God and you know that this finite life on earth is a blink in eternity, his most perfect plan for you, if everything works out fine and you get a 100 out of 100 score, it could very well be that I'm dead in an hour. Coming to peace with that it working out perfectly could appear horrific. You have to come to peace with that this might be happening so that, in the next life you do this, or you learned this and that passed on, or your death, taught a lesson to this person who will later become this and their son becomes president. And like, you have to understand and accept that it is a Swiss watch of synchronicity. And what happens if you truly have faith in God, then whatever happens is exactly what was supposed to happen, including the worst possible things. So it might be that he doesn't get better, or he does get better. It can be any of them. You have to fully accept the full spectrum of outcome and not go, if this happens, that's good. And if that happens, well, I guess that's a tough lesson, but it's still good. No. All of it, including the worst possible thing, is God's plan. And that's a tough pill to swallow. That's something I struggle with daily.
When we come back, we're going to talk about the J6 pipe bomber. Get into the rest of the stuff. I just put something out there. We're going to take a quick commercial break. In 3 minutes, we'll be right back.
All right.
Hey, this is just in from Fidelity. Gold could hit $4,000 an ounce as the Federal Reserve cuts rates to cushion the U.S. economy. The dollar drops and the central bank keeps adding holdings. Gold has been on a record-breaking tear over the last few years, and it doesn't look to be slowing down in the years to come. Are your savings protected with precious metals like gold and silver? Are you waiting for gold and silver to shoot even higher in price? I want you to call my gold partner, Goldco, today and learn more about what precious metals can do for you. That's 844-960-GOLD or visit untamedgold.com. You'll get a free 2025 gold and silver kit, and you'll get info on the #1 precious metal offer in the game, where you can get up to 10% back in bonus silver just for getting started. But supplies are limited, so don't put it off. Call my gold partner, Goldco, at 844-960-GOLD or visit untamedgold.com. That's 844-960-4653 or visit untamedgold.com. In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, a commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle. Am I back on? Oh man, I just sat down literally. You didn't give me any time. Where's Tommy at? Okay. All right. I put a post up.
I'm back.
Are you back? Still
Yes,
can't
sir.
see you. Put those in your ears. They're not gross. All right, fix it. Jake is in the house. For those of you guys who don't know, Jake Frejo, he's here. He's not. I don't know if he'll get on. He might. He came by, so I was like, "You want to get on? You want to come? You want to hear me rant?" Tommy, you want to hear me rant?
Go for it.
Okay. Somebody help Mr. Retard over here put this stuff in his ear.
Me?
No. All right. Put up the thing I just sent you real quick, if you would. More importantly, just go straight to the Julie Kelly deal. No, the one above it. Get the Julie Kelly deal. Oh, hold on. Stop. You need to now click on the Julie Kelly deal. Click on it. All right. Let me tell you what happens when you have operatives that are working inside like Julie Kelly. Julie Kelly is the Democrat that gave a bunch of money to Biden and all that regime that is an operative, has worked both sides. Not a good person. She's blocked me, don't care. Julie Kelly is a piece of shit. Now, let me read this to you. After recklessly putting this individual's name out in the public last week and endangering her safety, Beck now insists that she must be protected and claims she was low man on the totem pole in any inside operation. Now, what was being said last week when the story was pitched, not what was being said last week when the story was being pitched. Okay, so let me explain to you Julie Kelly. Julie, I stand up for the J6ers, Kelly. See, you have to have people on the inside that do as much damage control as possible. Hey, I'm here to help. Oh yeah, let's help you. While feeding information to ultimately make it so that they lose. Now, let me tell you about Julie Kelly and who she's tied to. Well, of course, she's tied to Bannon and a bunch of other people, right? But the people that are just, they're the saviors, right? These are the good people. Like, I don't give a shit who likes me or doesn't like me. Could care less. What I care about is that we are academically institutionally honest. Be honest. Kyle Seraphin specifically, and you can go check this out. Kyle Seraphin, she won't mention him, obviously. But what she's saying here is absolute bullshit. So beforehand, now this was told to me from a big birdie. I don't have a way to open it. Is that they tried to get Steve Baker fired. Before the whole case came out, the gate analysis came out, before any of that, Tommy, they tried everything they could to get Steve Baker fired. At the highest level, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, the people like Julie Kelly, people inside the government wanted to get Steve Baker fired. Did this gate analysis, had that gate analysis re-examined, look at footage of this Capitol police officer turned promoted to be a CIA person. I got promoted. You got a seat at the table. Just got all you have to do is drop some pipe bombs. They called and said, hey, listen, you're not allowed to run this. They tried to kill the story. That's our government. That's the FBI. Then they come out and say, oh, we still need information on it. They don't want to solve the problem. They want to create chaos, and they want to be able to build a narrative to go after Americans. That's what they want to do. And Julie Kelly, she's just one of the people. She's one of the insider, whatever you want to call it, agents, operatives, who could do anything and everything she can to stop you from seeing what is right in front of you. And then attack Steve Baker, attack Kyle Seraphin, attack the suspendables, who have been right every single time. And if it's not right and they weren't afraid of the truth, they wouldn't be out there trying to say, Kardashian Patel's out there saying, I'm proud of my sensation girlfriend who's a sensation country singer. Doesn't have any hits, but whatever. This is an embarrassment. And you can tell who's a part of it now. You can take this to the bank. Every single person like Julie Kelly that did it is playing for the bad guys. Every single person on this particular deal who stood up and said that that person is a victim is 100% on the bad guy's side. 100%. 100%. Not 50%, not 40%, not 30, not 20, not 10, not 80, not 90, 100% bad guys. Bad guys. Oh, she tried to help the J6ers. No, she didn't. She didn't do anything for the J6ers. President Trump did for the J6ers. She said, well, she advocated for them. Okay. You had people like Bannon that were sitting up on a deal, literally saying this: we shouldn't let all of them get pardoned. They were advocating for certain people not to get pardoned. Jake Lang is one of them. Joe Biggs is another one. And by the way, some of them did not get a full pardon. They got a commutation of their sentence. And some of those people, because they want their pound of flesh, like Joe Biggs, was denied his ability to have VA care, which he desperately needs. They were denied their ability to get their pension. For serving this country, they weren't allowed to have their retirement either, or retirement benefits. That was the benefit of this little group, the Julie Kellys, of let's not let them all off the hook, because they play for the bad guys. But here's what people don't understand. Kyle Seraphin was actually on a special, Tommy, he was on an assignment. His job was to watch the house of someone closely related to who they say, based on other information that they have, his job was to watch that house. Do you have any idea where that house was? Any idea? The house, which by the way, they were mysteriously told. So Kyle, he can tell the story. Matter of fact, he does. But do you have any idea where the house was? So here's Kyle. He's an FBI agent.
Was it that house that blew up?
No. The house that they were put on, that they had to watch. They had to watch
Across the
this
street
house.
from Rogerstown. I don't know.
No, how about right next door to the pipe bomber? Right next door. Pipe bomber's house, their house. They were kissing. He was watching this house, and this is this is Kirchhoff's house. He's watching this house. This is Kirchhoff's house. Now they were right after this deal. A recommendation was made. I'm gonna bring Kyle on so he can go through this. A recommendation was made, and they're like, "Yeah, get off. Come back all the way around. You have the gate analysis. It's Kirchhoff." Now the entire investigation that they're actually working on was the J6 pipe bomber. They were watching X house. Here's Kirchhoff's house. How is that possible? This is like Coomer being on the call for Antifa.
Well, it's not a coincidence. It's not an oopsie. It's very clearly an op.
I mean, and what are the chances?
No, it's zero. It's an op.
It's an op. And Julie Kelly
it's
says
an op.
that this.
No, sorry to interrupt. There's a fat comedian I love named Ray Kump, but he's brilliant. And he always says, he's like, there's a certain level of like, you got to not be a cuck. He's like, it doesn't matter if you don't. He's like, sure, you do in a court of law, you need the paper trail. But he's like, when things, and he's like a liberal guy. He's like, when you get a shot off at the president, something's up. Okay? When it's the only show there that CNN airs, when there's a guy in the front row of the camera that does 4,000 frames per second, he's like, at a certain point, at a certain point, you have to stop being an intellectual pussy and go, it's an op. I don't have the exact fingerprints, but it's an op. It's an op. It's an op. And that's so when people are like, what are the chances? It's zero. It's an op. Shut up. It's an op.
Is there even a way possible?
No.
And by the way, there are other people that were on this deal. There's now information, emails. This is a direct violation of FBI rules, code, law. Direct violation. Like what Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are doing right now with their mouthpieces.
Yeah.
With their mouthpieces, Julie Kelly, with their other mouthpieces that they have, and they're like, hey, we need you to put this information out. So then Julie's, I get to get in the middle of the app. I get to go after Kyle Seraphin. Huh?
This might actually be it's unethical, and it might actually be part of the repealing of Smith-Mund. This might be actually part of how you see domestic propaganda.
This is crazy. This is crazy that we can identify the operators, and that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are supposed to be on our side.
I look at this as a plus. You'll know them by their fruits. I'd rather see them.
You will know them by their fruits.
I'd rather see the traitors. I'd rather see them, and it's a tough pill to swallow. You know, when a friend screws you, or you get cheated on by a high school girlfriend or something, that stuff all sucks. In the long run, you're very grateful for it because you see it for what it is. You become aware that, will never happen to me. It does happen to you, and you see it, and you understand it, and you appreciate that it can happen again. And it calluses you, and it hardens you in a good way. So I look at this, I go, good. It'd be a lot harder if we thought they were on our side. I'm very happy, and again, you'll never see it trending or something, but I don't think you and I are necessarily intellectually above most people. So I think the average dude is looking at this going, hey, fuck that guy.
I am above most people.
Well, of course, you have an IQ of 170 trillion. But, like, if the average dude...
Tommy, quit with the fake hubris. We're both really smart.
I have an IQ of 19,000. No, but my point is this: is you and I are seeing things that the average dude who doesn't have a podcast, he's also seeing. So my point is
everyone
if you and I can see this, the average guy is seeing this, and I look at that as a plus. Everything that's happened in the last 5 years has been a plus. It's very bad when it does happen, but again, you will know them by their fruits. The average Overton window, the average understanding of the machinations of the deep state now versus 5 years ago, 8 years ago, it's out of this world. So I look at this when we go, good. Kash Patel, I'm going to turn the FBI into a museum. That's the dude selling you out. Good. So the next time some dude gets appointed and he's the best there's ever been, people are going to look at this and go, yeah, so is Cash Patel, so is Dan Bongino. Anything that results in that, in a sharpening of the spear, in a hardening of your own, hey, you got to show me why I should trust you.
Yeah,
that's a plus. And like you said, it's friction. Friction hurts to get there, but friction's how you improve. So I look at this as objectively, it's bad and they should burn in hell. But where we are right now, I look at that as a major plus. Cool. People need to have the veil pulled away from their eyes and go, that's the dude that Dan Bongino showed. That's the, yeah, man, he's showing you who he is. Spineless. Cash Patel, showing you who he is. Spineless. Jeffrey Epstein had no client list and he killed himself. Good.
I mean, just go back and look at it. Just if everybody wants to go back and look at it, you don't have to be Captain Obvious. They had this whole organized deal. You had the DOJ and the FBI, and President Trump has to be beside himself. I mean, he's a really smart guy. He just pardoned all these people.
Me. I think he sees this, and he's looking at this and going, noted.
Okay, so here's, I'm going to read this and I'm going to put this other one up. It says, and this is from Jacqueline Sweet. I said, you have got to be kidding me. I was pissed. Now, if you don't know who Jacqueline Sweet is, she's an investigative journalist. She works for Rolling Stones, The Nation, Politico, all the big ones, right? All the really big bad ones. Some immediate family members of the Capitol Police officer accused without proof of being the J6 bomber have disabled their social media accounts since last night. Can only imagine the abuse they are getting since they were named in the Blaze story and have their life details blasted across X all day yesterday. I'm so glad I woke up today as anyone other than the authors of that Blaze story. Jacqueline, piss right the hell off. This whole thing, a Capitol Police officer, just so you know, she wasn't a Capitol Police officer. She was a CIA agent. She was promoted to the CIA right after she did the pipe bomb deal. And when you say that there is no proof, a gate analysis is used globally. It's used to find terrorists. It's used in China. It's used in every single country. It is literally better than a fingerprint. You stupid bee. Okay, now put the other post up that I have here. Because you're not good without any more gaslighting. Let's just add more gaslighting.
I'm listening. I'm going to fill up my cup. I'm listening.
The fundamental supposition of the Blaze story regarding the J56 pipe bomber identification is that FBI Director Cash and FBI Bongino have both been completely co-opted by the deep state. That the two men who have spent their entire lives battling the deep state have just flipped the switch and decided to run cover for the Democrat cabal. What utter nonsense. I suppose Trump himself has been hoodwinked by the masterminds of the left as well. Moreover, there isn't any actual evidence that the woman who had been publicly identified perpetrated the planning of the pipe bombs, a detail which Baker should have led with if he were in possession of such evidence. It seems gate analysis is the best Baker can do. You stupid bitch. A gate analysis is like a fingerprint when you have the details of that person's history, including injuries. Here's how he justifies this. The technique has been utilized by the intelligence community, but not without other elements of corroboration. I think we're about to find out exactly why it's not a great idea to equal social media volume with veracity. But the story goes beyond implicating Patel and Bongino. It demands that we assent to the assumption that Trump's CIA, led by CIA Director and DNI Gabbard, have been complicit in some cover-up to advantage who? The deep state? Now this is where he goes in, he's trying to separate and say, listen, we're going to take Gabbard over here too, because in this place, what he's saying is, you're not allowed to say anything about this. And by the way, I'm trying to give Gabbard, I'm trying to give the CIA the ability to come over here on our side and be like, yeah, this is absurd. I'm not buying what the Blaze is trying to sell. And most certainly, this is a kleptomaniac scramble for clicks. What the American public deserve are real answers substantiated by hard evidence, evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a standard which FBI Director Patel is playing. That's not an unreasonable journalistic standard when people's lives, careers, and reputation are at stake. F*** off, you piece of shit. I literally was on a call with Coomer. On a call. You guys didn't do any sort of checking into it. We had to get emails from Dominion. We had to get emails from this. Oh, unsubstantiated. You got a skinhead drug addict that supposedly got a cold call in 2005 to become the chief architect while he's making websites for small businesses. And that checks. That's what you want to do. A guy that's facing 10 years in prison, that's the guy you put there. Every single time it's the same thing. Same thing. We're going to crap on Steve Baker. We're going to crap on Kyle Seraphin. We're going to crap on the suspendables. We're going to crap on the gate analysis and tell public that it has nothing to do with that. I'm pissed. I'm pissed. You want to come on?
Sure.
I'm sorry, Tommy. I can't.
No,
I can't.
no, dude. I again.
The absurdity of it. And Kyle is my friend. And you're like, oh, he went after James O'Keefe. I don't get involved in their beef. That's their beef.
Yeah,
I can tell you that I know who Kyle is. I know Kyle has no interest in anything other than the truth, to his own detriment. And not just a detriment to the FBI, but his detriment today. Look, if you can't take Kyle Seraphin, like he's called me up and say, take that crap down. And I'm like, God, I'm not gonna take it down. It's right. And he's like, Joe, it's not. Let me tell you why. X, Y, and Z, let me send you something. He's like, you could be a retard and leave it up, or you could take it down. But I would recommend that you take it down. And he sends it to me. I do like 1 minute of research, and I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. Click, I take it down. You wanna know why? Because I was being an idiot. And you're like, oh, Kyle hurt my feelings. Kyle's gonna hurt your feelings. Like if you think this is about clicks, if you think this is about some sort of kleptomaniac click for clickbait, that's not what Kyle's about. That's never been what he's about. That's never been what Steve is about. That's never been what Steve Baker's about. It's never. They went after his job, and he knew that he was going to be made out to be the devil's fool. He knew, but he had to get it out there because he knew what the truth was. A gate analysis is not some sort of flamboyant thing that you just put together by accident. And then the other stuff about Kyle and the house by house, come on now, and you don't even mention it. Go ahead.
Take it as a blessing, man. Take it as it sucked when it was happening, and now we look at Crossfire Hurricane. 53 intelligence officials say the Hunter Biden laptop is disinformation. The vaccine is safe, and if it comes from Wuhan, you're a racist. These are all things that they burned those cards. They got a little bit of a win, and in time, they can no longer use those cards because we all look at that and we go, that's horseshit. That's horseshit. Every time this happens, there's a growing pain when it happens. There's a period of tribulation, be it a day or a year, and then we grow from it because people look at it now and it doesn't matter anymore now if you go, well, that guy's the director of this. People don't care. They saw COVID. They saw Crossfire Hurricane. They've seen all of this stuff.
They've seen all the lies, right? They've seen all the lies.
My point is, it's a very slow process of a country. We're aging and learning. You're older, you go, yeah, maybe that was stupid. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Yeah, I was 16 at the time. That's what we're going through right now. We're going through at an accelerated rate. It's painful. It's full of friction. It is ultimately beneficial because you use these cards and then everyone knows them. And they still have more and they'll continue to use them. I think it's ultimately a blessing. It is a way to open people's eyes in a manner that cannot be denied. They've all seen it. They even just little shit like, yeah, okay, I guess Rogan wasn't a whack job for taking ivermectin. Yeah, sometimes it takes 5 years. These are all things that are steamrolling towards the truth. I take this back to Dr. Federer. I take this as something, the intricacies sometimes can only be carried out by God. And you go, yeah, this is beyond any human planning, that we're seeing these things time and time, week after week, year after year, from Trump dumping the food in with the koi fish with Shinzo Abe to whatever. Slow. You see who Mike Pence is. You see all this stuff. It's a theory that J6 is full of FBI officers. 1 year, 2, 3, 4 years later, 274. Look where we are right now. This is insane that we're actually openly talking about a gate analysis and the CIA. This is a win. It's slow and steady and it hurts, but this is a win, man.
Yeah, but the point is that you now know that Julie Kelly's dirty. I mean, who would have thought Bongino was dirty? I even used to tell Kyle, I'm like, listen, give Bongino some credit.
Me neither.
Right? Give
we
him
know.
Some credit.
Good.
And you got Kardashian Patel, literally, that flies around the country, that sues Kyle and what can only be described as lawfare, using the same system as the left, and then we're supposed to just believe that he's actually on our side?
No,
and by the way,
perfect. It's wonderful.
And Dan Bongino was going to quit. He's like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. Good. We're getting our money's worth. We're getting way more than our money's worth. You're looking at this and you're going, man, wow. I was convinced that I was just 9 months ago. Like, yeah, no, this is our guy.
I never liked Cash.
My point though. These are all wins, man. Like, take them.
Yeah. This is this is crazy. Hey, so Jake, what's up, brother?
What's up, Joe?
How you doing?
Good. It's been a while.
Yeah. Jake is, yeah. Jake is like Honest Abe. You know what we call him? We call him the economic terrorist in DCF terms.
Why is that?
Because he finds shit that's wrong and he's like, yeah, I'm getting you.
So economic hitman.
Yeah.
The term.
Yeah.
CIA jackals.
So Jake has another story when who came after? We shouldn't talk about that right now, right? Waxy Maxey and the Young Republican.
Yeah, that's a whole story. That's probably its own episode.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that because
Con Inc. special.
Yeah, I mean, we just got to do one on the Con Inc. We just got to do one on him. And look, I don't actually hate anyone. I don't even hate Bannon. I just think that he's full of shit. I don't hate Julie Kelly. I think she's a bad person. I don't actually hate people on the left either because I know that they're in it for money, power, and prestige. I just don't like them. Like I just don't like evil. I don't like evil people. I just don't like evil. Period. Right? But some of them, bless their heart, they just do it because it makes them feel good. Am I wrong?
Yeah, but even Con Inc. stuff, like even that, like it's a self-refining process. Like with every passing month and year, you look at people, that's just a Con Inc. That's just a douchebag. He doesn't actually want to get to anything. Anything that accelerates or facilitates the movement towards whatever the core of truth is, it's a win, man.
Right.
Or not, or in their evil, I mean, whatever you want to call it. I
get angry. I mean, the whole thing is that there's so much evidence that we heard about it before it happened, that the dangers of it is that there was I was told, not by any one person in particular, and this is not Kyle that said it, but I was told by someone yesterday they're not going to prosecute. The DOJ is not going to do anything about it. So basically, this person puts a pipe bomb out there, gets away with it. Is there any difference between what is happening with this person and what the radical left did for 4 years, locking up our people? Does it look any different? Does it act any different? Is anything different? Is Pam Bondi doing anything different? Tina Peters is still in jail. Todd Blanche sends an email hoping that he can put off for what? This is the Judases and Brutuses that we have inside of our government structure. And you know, I trust God, and I do trust President Trump because I think he's a very patient man. 4 years of getting his ass kicked, right, and stomped on by the radical left. You know, he's got a bone to pick. But do I trust everything else that's happening? I don't. I mean, after you just let this pipe bomber go, and it was it because of the $500,000? You don't want to pay the $500,000? Then don't. I think Steve would be happy to not take the $500,000. But stop lying. Am I wrong?
No. We need to do a full episode, though. I can't.
On Gavin Wax and the Young Republicans?
On the whole thing, I've always said that, and that's why I've kind of stayed out of the spotlight. I saw it from like the infantile stage of when a movement gets traction and moves forward and then becomes corrupted, and the infighting and the siphoning of the dollars of desperate people takes place. And you know, I think you know my story better than most. It was more layered than most people could imagine, having been on the receiving side of prosecution and then making my way into organizations that were, you know, portraying themselves to a degree of enacting change, and then the term you use is spinning tires.
Right.
So spinning tires, that change doesn't come along, it morphs into something else or it self-destroys. And I've seen it enough and been personally involved in it long enough that, at a certain point you just completely get sick and tired of it and stick to guns.
Yeah, you're good at guns, for sure. I've never seen a person that could actually sell more guns than Jake can with this kind of like voodoo stuff he does. You will buy this gun. He's like Crocodile Dundee on the side of the road, and the cow just falls over and hands him his wallet.
No, it's connecting to people. I think that's, in the realm of politics, it's the same idea. I'm not a sales guy. I don't sell guns. I make relationships, and then the relationships sell the guns. I think that's whatever industry you're in, politics, firearms, or anything, cupcakes, any of it. It's not about the buyer. It's not about the seller. It's about the relationship between the two that gets it done.
But I think that actually ties into everything we're talking about right now. Is like, to truly sell something, it's because the product is superior and you're being honest to someone. That goes for politics too. Is you can dress it up in any way you want, but ultimately, we've all bought something, you get banged out, and then it breaks, and you go, man, that we're seeing that right now with Cash and Bongino, and it sucks when it's happening, but all you need is one bad, transaction, and you've learned a lesson for life. So I think that's the same thing. Is you don't need to sell it if the thing is genuine and if you're genuine. And right now, we're seeing that these two, amongst others, are not genuine, and I take it as a blessing because everyone's seeing it.
Yeah. Well, you get to stay and hear some of this other stuff that we have that I think is going to be interesting.
I'm fine with that. We used to do these podcasts every once in a while, I think.
It's fun. So here's the Gold's Gym follow-up, and you're going to want to hear this. This is the woman that got pissed off about the guy that was in the Gold's Gym, in the women's locker room, saying that, I'm transgender. He didn't look transgender. He just looked like a freak, but let's go play it.
Stay out of the women's locker room.
The Gold's Gym locker room scandal just took a shocking new turn. The person at the center of it all has been revealed to have a serious criminal past. According to media reports, before transitioning, this individual was known as Grant Freeman. In 2022, he pleaded guilty in Ohio to domestic assault that caused serious injury to a partner. After serving his sentence, he transitioned and took his ex-partner's name, Alexis. Yes, the same person who now insists on entering women's locker rooms claiming they have every right to be there is the same person once convicted of serious domestic violence. Yet when women speak up and say they feel unsafe, they're the ones silenced, banned, and labeled as intolerant. Remember the woman who lost her Gold's Gym membership? She simply voiced her concern and got removed for it. Now this story has gone viral. One side supports the gym's inclusivity policy, while the other, mostly women, just want to feel safe. If even people with serious criminal backgrounds can freely enter women's spaces, then maybe something in the system is broken.
Maybe.
What a
surprise!
What a surprise! They had a criminal background. Well, shocked.
I'm actually more shocked that I'm actually more shocked that people aren't outraged by this. This is why I said we need a fraternity for men. Right? It's gotten out of hand. We need a brotherhood. We need to come together, just drag that guy out of the men's locker room. And look, it doesn't have to be violent. You can go with a little bit of force, or you can go with a lot of force. You choose. Consequences for bad behavior. So if you choose it has to be a lot of force, then man, so be it. Just tie a rope around your foot, tie it to the side of a car, and drag you right through the door.
Or we make him go on a date with me. Like, are you really a chick? Well, Tommy here wants to take you out for something nice. That's, I think, a lot more terrifying than getting pulled by a car. Is me romantically approaching you? Let's see how full.
Make sure the skirt's long enough. You don't want anything falling out.
Tommy, you're worrying me, bro. You're worrying me.
No. I'm going unconventional warfare. I'm throwing out the Geneva Conventions, burn the village. He's expecting to get his ass kicked. He's not expecting me.
When in Rome, do what the Romans do. Don't do it. You ever heard of the Tower of Babylon, bro? Come on now. You know what
he's not expecting me. This is a bad threat. He expects to get his ass kicked, and he probably even likes it.
Jake's like, I'll go on a date with you.
We can both approach him. And he's gonna be very confused. He's gonna be very confused.
Oh my gosh. Well, Nancy Pelosi dropped out of the race, and what has been replaced with that is, you remember the video from J6 where they set up all those Americans? Well, you got to see this. Christine Pelosi is now running for California State Senator. Play it.
Hi, I'm Christine Pelosi, attorney, author, advocate,
chairperson of the California Democratic Party Women's Caucus,
wife, mom, and today a candidate for California State Senate. I'm running to represent you, San Francisco, in Sacramento, fighting for consumer rights, women's rights, gun violence survivors, immigrants, and our most vulnerable communities against the threat we face.
Christine Pelosi is shaking up the sexual harassment debate in Sacramento.
What do we do when our freedoms are under attack? We speak up, we fight back, and we organize power for the people. And that's what I want to do for you.
And insider trading.
Oh, yeah.
I saw what her mother made. It was like $130 million off her own insider trading.
Okay, so a teacher in Wisconsin speaks on how to infiltrate the minds of kids earlier in education. This is a white liberal woman in Wisconsin. This is the institutional rot that we talk about. They say doesn't exist. Play it.
So everyone who raised your hand and said that you got radicalized in college, imagine if you got radicalized 4 years earlier. Okay? There's a dialectic between these organizations, but there are some major differences. High schools are a cross-section of our community. So when we look around higher ed and we're like, why is everyone so white and rich here? Look at the public schools. We need to train high schoolers how to organize. High school teachers, our hands are really tied. Work with the high schools, connect with the teachers unions, connect with your kids' teachers. Give them, I'm gonna be honest, give us money. Like on Teacher Appreciation Day, send a gift card to your high school teachers. Elementary school teachers get it, high school don't. Or like, whatever, just offer material support whenever you can. Show up at their protests, like send an email and say that you support them. Because school boards listen to families. Follow your school board of the local public schools. Follow them on social media. Go to those meetings if you can. But like small policy changes will transform your city.
She talks about how to indoctrinate sooner. She said, imagine if you were indoctrinated sooner.
Well, yeah, that's what you do when the thing you're trying to sell is not an adequate product. It doesn't stand up on itself. So instead, you have to go in and get people before their frontal lobe is formed. It shouldn't be a surprise. They're demons from hell.
All right, so let's look at this. This is an aide gave an interview in Somalia about how they changed immigration rules to help Somalia in 2024.
waxaan ku faraxsanahay in sanadkii madaxweynaha hadda soo noqday Trump uu ka tegay dadka qaxootiga.
Go back, I'm going to read it. Just pull their stuff down so I can read what it's saying, please. Go again. Do it again. Just turn it down a little bit. I'll just read it when he's talking. Can we do it? Just play it again. Are you not going to play it again?
waxaan ku faraxsanahay in sanadkii madaxweynaha hadda soo noqday Trump uu ka tegay dadka qaxootiga Mareykanka oo dhan loo ogolaaday inay soo galaan 12,000 bas ay ahayd. waxaan u bedelnay shuruucda soo galootiga oo muddo 40 sano markii koowaad isbedel lagu sameeyay casriyeysan oo hadda sanadkan hadda dhamaaday ee 2024
Last year, 2024, more than 100,000 people were allowed in.
ay soo galeen waxay ahayd wax la taaban karo guul ay ahayd. waxaan kaloo runtii jira in dowladda Mareykanku xukuumadda hadda xukuumadda ugu taageerada badneed taariikhda wadanka Soomaaliya iyo dowladda Soomaaliya iyadoo runtii qayb libaax leh ka qaadatay una horseeday in dowladda iyo maaragtay wadanka Soomaaliya uu hogaankiisa iyo maaragtay nidaamkiisa dawliga ah haykalkiisa dawladnimeed uu hana qaado tusaale ahaan Mareykanka uu cunaqabateynta laga qaado Soomaaliya Mareykanku dhabar u ahaa xukuumadii hadda tagtay maaragtay kamid ka ahaa waxa kaloo kamid ahaa ano maaragtay soo koobaya cafinta kale runtii waxa qayb libaax leh ka qaatay Mareykanka sida ay xukuumadda dowladda Soomaaliya ay maaragtay qariyayso mar walba
And they changed the immigration rules. I mean, imagine not being able to afford anything, and then they just come in and just say, we're going to give this free stuff to people who are from another country. Tommy?
Are you surprised?
So here's a video of Rep. Ilhan Omar made about the good work this restaurant was doing in Somalia. The restaurant that Ilhan Omar filmed the video in was the one that was accused of massive COVID fraud, where hundreds of millions were siphoned into shell companies, ostensibly to quote-unquote feed the children. Let's go ahead and play it.
horta aad iyo aadaan ugu faraxsanahay in maanta safaari aan soo gaarnay safaari in ay tahay meelaha sayti oo diyaarinayo cunto maalin kasto maalintii kaliyo safaari waxay cunto siisaa 2,300 oo ciyaal ah iyo familkooda taas waa mid muhiim ah sida aad u ogtihiin dhalinyaro badan gaajo ku nool wadankaanayti ama familkooda fursad u helin in quraac qada iyo casho ay siiso
breakfast lunch or dinner.
It was Minneapolis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. They get no sympathy from me because one, what they're doing is they're not integrating and they're trying to just simply bring their country here for no other reason than to support their home country. And furthermore, if you really want to get historical with it, in 1993 we did try to feed them when they weren't even here. When ID'd was seizing all those rice things from the UN whatever security force, and we had to go in during Operation Gothic Serpent, and that's when we lost a bunch of Rangers and Delta Force, and Mike Durant, Gary Gordon and Randy Shukart, who were both shot and killed, and their bodies were dismembered. I've interviewed Mike Durant. We've gone so far out of our way to help people all around this world before they're even in this country. I don't give a shit anymore. These people.
Well, you don't. I mean, you do care about people. I mean, the whole idea.
I do. But suicidal empathy is suicidal.
Sorry. Right, so we don't have suicidal empathy. I mean, humanity is humanity. You set rules, right? So you want to make sure you set rules and consequences of those rules. And when bad people violate that, when evil people violate it, you go after those people. But you can't give up your humanity. I mean, I refuse.
No, you're right. I know you're right.
I refuse to put myself in a position where I have to give up my ability to live my life by my faith because of what somebody else does. It doesn't matter. I mean, I will turn over the tables and I will whoop the living you-know-what out of someone, right? But that's not my first go-to when I meet someone. Like when somebody pulls up in front of me and they try to cut in front of me, I'm like, okay. I don't get upset over it, right?
I do.
All right, let's take a look at this. This is the restaurant that was in this previous cut. Here's a news report. Play it.
In December of 2021, the FBI installed a surveillance camera overlooking this building just off Lake Street in Minneapolis. At the time, it was Safari Restaurant, which overall took in $12 million in federal child meal payments through Feeding Our Future. Safari's former co-owner, Salim Saeed, is on trial alongside Amy Bach, the Feeding Our Future executive director. Safari claimed to feed 4,000 to 6,000 kids a day. Its invoices and meal counts shown to the jury alongside the video. An FBI agent testifying that an average of 40 people came and went during the 6 weeks it was surveilled. The FBI set up a total of 12 cameras at sites claiming to serve extraordinary numbers of meals. Another was at a deli in St. Paul, also registered by defendant Salim Saeed, which claimed 1,800 meals per day. The video shown to the jury showed an average of 23 people a day coming and going. The jury was shown dozens of invoices, meal counts, and emails seized from Feeding Our Future's headquarters in St. Anthony. Some showed links to websites that randomly generated names and ages to create rosters of children who were served meals. Many were signed or sent by Amy Bach, who's charged with wire fraud, along with bribery for the alleged kickbacks that she received.
This is actually really interesting. So when we did that ballot harvesting story in Minneapolis for Project Veritas, I was on the ground for about 3 weeks out there, and we stayed at the Marquette Hotel, which was right downtown of the George Floyd riots. And the amount of, as we were focusing on, the fraud development side of the story within the community, one of the things I looked at from an OSINT side of the financial side is, what are you stealing an election for? What are you cornering local power for? And it was the money. So what they were doing with the food there, what they were also doing with home health care, with FEMA, or the Fed pays the bill for Medicaid, anything Medicaid related. Right. The state of Minneapolis, or the state of Minnesota, is the only state in the country that actually almost has a franchise. It has its own web of Blue Cross Blue Shield. Long story short, the chieftain legal officer of that franchise of Blue Cross Blue Shield was actually Obama's attorney of record in some capacities, but did all this OSIN into shell companies. So home health care, right? Translation services, meal delivery services, car services to those home health care services, all within the Somalian community, all went back to essentially PO boxes. So it's a notorious racket that isn't just food related. It's every which way of public service is rat-holed through shell companies and foundations to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
I mean, they've built a cartel inside of our government in order to siphon off all of our hard-earned tax dollars. And I bet you that it's 25, 30, 35% of the money that we actually put inside the government. I mean, I would venture to say that nearly half, 35, 40, I mean, whatever, it's a lot, is siphoned off and given to these degenerates. Let me show you something else. This is oh, Milo. What's up, Milo? How you doing, buddy? It's like, Milo. Okay. Jake's dog's here. He's pretty awesome. I want to play this if I can. In Portland yesterday, we're going to end on a good note, just so you know. There's a lot of bad stuff going, but there's a lot of good stuff happening. There's a lot of good stuff. President Trump pardoning a bunch of people related to the election fraud is a good step. And I see him stair-stepping to get things done. I don't think we're running out of time, but I think President Trump's smart enough to know we're running out of time. People on his deal, and not so much. I want to see Tina Peters get out this week. I heard that that's on the thing to happen. But I want you to see this. This is the degenerates. They call themselves Degenerates Against Fascism. Play it.
They'll be burned as biofuel when the communists take over. Like,
they are useful.
They're not even useful idiots. They will literally be used as fuel. No, useful idiots are a tier above them. Legit, they will be ground up, mixed with ethanol and corn, and be used to power tanks.
I'm really scared, actually, that that's a part of society. But we have catered to it. That's what you get. You get that because of it. You get that as a result of that.
Isn't the I guess if you
look like a handicapped furry convention.
I was gonna say degenerates against fashion. If you include the G backwards, then it's fagged. I thought it was clever.
Were you day trading, Joe?
Yeah, a little bit. Here's this, by the way. I just want to put this out there. Today is the Marine's birthday. How many years?
250.
250 years. I just saw that and I was like, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Let's go ahead and play this real quick. $250 years. That's pretty good, right? 250 years.
Very impressive.
Super impressive. We have kind of a deal that I think is really important on our Facts Blast today. Do I have anything that I can give people on this to go look at, number one? This is for the treason exposed, persecute the coup plotters now.
Patrick is working with Chris to get it on the website.
Okay, we're going to get that on the website? Great. There was a leaked USAID Zoom call from January 2025 that rips the mask off the silence. The State Department's Office of Transition Initiatives, battle-tested in Ukraine and Serbia, has been weaponized into a domestic color revolution against the duly elected president administration. Now, I want you to notice that it says battle-tested in Ukraine and Serbia, because Serbia and Ukraine are both hotspots, and they're both places where we've seen a lot of bad things happen, including Dominion. We just had that conversation. Insider Van brags on encrypted signal that 50,000 USAID contractors and Soros Rockefeller NGOs were pre-positioned to execute bottom-line transformation of elections. Mass censorship and street chaos in the moment Project 2025 became a target. Your tax dollars didn't feed the world. They've funded a coup on American soil. In Serbia, the same playbook saw $5.5 million funneled by CRTA and TRAG Foundation to orchestrate blockades and institutional sabotage, now invisible in 501 march in lockstep in U.S. streets. Their February 5th protest, a live fire rehearsal for electoral nullification. This is not a policy disagreement. It is 18 U.S.C. Code 2381, treason, plain and lethal. Lieutenant General Michael Flynn called it, if it looks like a coup, it's a coup. Yet you sit idle while Van signals cabal. John Hopkins Democracy Labs and Congressional No Kings cheerleaders erase the will of 75 million voters. USAID's empire of weaponized aid must be gutted, root and branch. No more slush funds for sedition. No more immunity for encrypted plotters. Prosecute the architects under federal treason statutes and parallel state sedition laws. Strip every complicit NGO of tax-exempt status, freeze their assets, and hold the State Department enablers before open tribunals. The Republic teeters. Your legacy will be measured by whether you choose patriot or quisling. Do this today or be complicit. And this is what they're asking for. This is what we're asking for. By the way, if you didn't know all this, there's so much more to know. Like, while they gaslight and do the things that they've done inside of our, I mean, we're talking judges that are a part of it. We're talking lawyers. At the highest level, we have massive problems going on, not just in Colorado or California or all of these states. They said 50,000 organizations that basically have been funneled money by not just USAID. Like I said before, we're not in Venezuela because we're down there because of an election they had or even drugs. We're down there because they have built a sophisticated, large organization that includes people in our legislative branch, in our judicial branch, and even in our executive branch at state levels to steal the voice of the American people and make you all slaves. Introduce emergency legislation to abolish USAID's Office of Transition Initiatives and direct every dime to border security. Convene public hearings within 72 hours. Subpoena Van, OTI, leadership, indivisible, 501 and Soros grant logs. Co-sponsor a joint resolution demanding DOJ special counsel to indict under 18 U.S.C. 2381. No plea deals, no immunity. Publicly pledge on the House, Senate floor, any member who blocks accountability will face primary challengers bankrolled by the same 75 million patriots you betrayed. Clock is bleeding, act, or history will brand you the congressional accomplices who let the republic burn. We're done playing, and some say, Joe, you're incredibly too calm right now for what you're dealing with. And I would tell you that right now we have to play chess, but chess in war. We're not, to say that we're not in a place of absolute war would be a mistake. We're in a war right now. We are actively in a war. They killed Charlie Kirk. They shot President Trump. They put people in the bushes. They went over to a foreign country and said if you didn't support Ukraine that you were some sort of American traitor. They have written in the history books the things that, frankly, we've been running from. This is treason. They should be treated as such. And I actually don't care about arresting people. I want them to be arrested, but I want them to have military tribunals.
Yeah.
I think that anything short of that would be a miscarriage of justice and would take too long, and it wouldn't allow our country to survive.
At a certain point, you have to set up deterrence for future decades. You got to be like, hey, man, remember back in 2025 when the U.S. executed a bunch of traitors? That was hardcore. You need to have that lingering in the mind for 50, 60 years. You have to have that. I just saw today some kid my age was drunk driving, killed a family of 6. She got 75 years in prison. That's so that a lot of other young dudes go, oh, that shit's real.
Yeah,
that's what you have to have. You have to. It can't just be.
I'll do it again.
Back when everyone had powdered wigs, people would be like, dude, remember when on TikTok America hung a bunch of politicians? You need that. That's what you need.
Yeah. All right, let's pray it out. What do you think? We're going to do something on Gavin Wax?
I'd say throw it all out there because it's a much more nuanced story. I mean, the rise to fame of the New York Young Republican clubs. I was the advisory chairman. I mean, sorry, Milo's having a bit of fit down there.
Yeah, he is.
I can connect the dots. I'm just tired of seeing people take things that
are not theirs,
and they were used for their own gain. And people that don't have skin in the game wanting to have champagne breakfasts and all of the fun, nice things that no skin in the game brought them.
Come here, up, come here, Milo. Come here, get on TV. Come here, Milo. No, you got to get over here. Come here. Come here. Come. Yeah, there you go. Say hi to Milo. Milo, say hi.
Hi, baby.
Aww. This is Milo. Milo is a blue heeler, and if I were to say a few words as he's biting my arm, he would go nuts right now. If you talked about a little animal that runs across, that hides in trees, as he licks me now. So let's pray it out. Milo, can we pray it out? Pray for President Trump? Can we do that? Pray for Dave? All right, listen, guys, we did a lot to go over. Dr. Federer was amazing. Tommy, thanks for joining me. Appreciate you very much.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
And Jake, what do you want to plug something? You want to plug DCF?
A DCF, yeah. I mean, I was going to pull my gun out right now and say that I have one of those, luxury Glock Gen 5s they stopped making.
What? Let me see. All right, there you go. Oh, look at that. They quit making this?
They quit making Gen 5s and anything and any Glock. I mean, we can't even get from distribution now. We do have a bunch of the Trump Glock Gen 5s left, which is ironic because it's the most desirable one. It's the G45, which is that. And so because these kids are putting switches and everything, the new model moving forward will not be switch friendly. So you will not make it able to go burp anymore.
Why?
So I went from carrying a Glock to now it's like carrying a Rolex because everyone wants one and they can't get one.
I got a bunch of them. I got a Gen 5 10 millimeter.
I have one at the store, and then I feed it really good food. This is the Woodsman Plus P, so if you're trying to put down a grizzly bear or a like-sized person.
Hey, just so you know, this
These right here, this isn't the Woodsman.
The one under it is.
Oh, yes,
That's how I know that I'm full. I know I have the one marking it.
Oh, man.
That's solid copper.
So
there's no lead core. It's solid copper.
That would hurt you. This one's pretty good, too, though. This goes through a windshield. This is called the G9. What's this called?
I know they're called ripper rounds. It's an exterior hollow point.
So this is an exterior hollow point that goes through a window, like a windshield, at the same trajectory that it enters. So if you were to shoot at a...
No.
What's that?
Shoot out of a windshield.
What'd you say? Hit me. What'd you say, Tommy?
I said it's a no diffraction.
At all. Yeah, it's a great round. We're sitting talking about guns. I can sit and talk around guns all day, every day.
I think that's why you stuck me in DCF.
Yeah, it's because you're a gun guy. Yeah, same ones. Peeking.
You got a bodyguard?
What?
380 easy shield for your soft hands, pull the slide.
380?
Yeah.
How about a SAS, bro?
No, I thought the Easy Shield Plus was for women and people with weak hands.
It's a 9mm.
My mistake.
Get out of here. See, this is the shit I got to put up with, Tommy.
Elitism.
Elitism. It is completely. All right. Hey, I just want to... You got the comments for everyone so I can say goodbye to everyone? Any questions? Put it up there. There we go. Lizard people don't count. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Milo is beautiful. Yes, Susan, he is beautiful. Gator, I don't know what's happened with Gator. Where's he at? Gator's back. Gator Bait's back. Man, it's good to see you. We were 73 yesterday. That's pretty good. God bless you, Chris. I see you too. Jeff, I see you. Dr. D-Mark. I'm still working on my patent for the ball hitch of pickup trucks to handle all those bad people. Oh, Dr. D. Come on now. I think that should be, I don't know what to say about that. Ask Jake if he has watched a movie lately, Gangsta. Have you watched a movie lately?
Me?
Yeah.
Have I watched a movie?
Yeah, he has a problem with gay porn. That's his problem.
Yeah. Yep.
But,
yep.
Tommy's like, what?
It'll
I'm
get
just
you.
kidding. He likes gay. So what he means by gay is happy gun shows. He likes happy gun shows.
I actually have my own Only Firearms account. It's not doing too well. It's like OnlyFans, but for dudes with guns, and it's not working out too well.
So by the way, we are going to launch a new channel. And I can't tell you what it is, but it's going to be like that.
An Only Firearms account. Yeah.
This is going to be like that. We've talked about it. We're going to actually do it.
They send me special requests.
All right. Yeah, Gatorade, it's good to see you back. Glad to be back. Yeah, it's good to see you back. Absolutely. All right, let's pray it out, shall we? Can we pray it out? Can we pray it out, Tommy? You want to pray it out? Or you want me to?
You can.
All right. I love praying. All right, guys, listen. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. Make sure that you do your things to, give us a 5-star thumbs up, all that stuff. Share it. Ambassador of Truth, all that fun, cool stuff. And just want to tell you guys that we've moved up on the list as far as numbers and doing fairly well. So thank you for being a part of it, and thank you for all the support all these years. So I'm going to stay out of the gay porn conversation. No, it's gun porn. It's guns, bullets, chambered, all that stuff. All right, Father God, thank you. Thank you for even the trials that you give us. Thank you for the time that we have together. Thank you for Dr. Federer. Thank you for the time that he was able to spend with Charlie. And thank you for his infinite knowledge that he's able to share with us as he was here today earlier. Father, we have our patience tried every day. And, what's happening with this J6 pipe bomber is no exception. So, Father, I just ask you to give us the ability to kind of see through it all and to stand up, but also take a deep breath and work the problem collectively together. Help us, Father, that we may be able to expose these people, the people that frankly are doing the deeds of evil people and acting like the American people, or even the people globally are just stupid. We know they're not. And Father, we know that the ultimate goal is restoration, and that the only way we can undegrade our society is to restore it. So Father, we ask you to give us those tools that will stand together and to bless our leadership, bless President Trump, bless Bobby Kennedy, bless Pam Bondi and those in the DOJ. Help us, Father, that we may be set on our track. That we may not be deterred by personal relationships, and that people, frankly, are going to have to be held accountable, regardless of who they are, regardless of how close they are, regardless of, the friend. That if people are doing wrong and hurting the American people, Father, just help us that we may be able to expose those people and root them out. We know that we're headed down a path, Father, that's difficult, but we do know that with you, anything is possible. I also ask special blessing over Dave Bear. I ask you to heal him, Father. I ask you in front of all these people to heal him, and I believe that that is a possibility, and I believe that if it is your will, it will be done. I ask these things, Father, humbly, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right.
Amen.
I will, yeah. Man, Milo is like licking himself to death. Just don't be like Milo.
He keeps rolling himself in sand over at the e-store, and then he wonders why it's itchy.
Yeah, he's like, don't touch me. I can get him to go apeshit on you right now.
You could. Yeah. You actually may have helped train that into him.
Okay, we gotta go. Come here.
So why we can't have nice things, Joe?
Come here.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can't have nice things.
All right, hey guys, all hit the share button, do all that stuff. All that and then more. God bless you all, Wrangler. God bless you as well. We'll see you guys. How about no for what? All right, see you guys. Bye. See you, Tommy.
All right, thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fight where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea.